Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Comic Book Chronicles. Wow, not the double up. Nice. I am your host, Roddykat, and you can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram.
South Carolina with Columbia down the way.
And those sound effects you heard come from none other than our man in Brooklyn, Brooklyn's finest, one agent_70.
On Twitter and Instagram. What's up, everybody?
There it is. And you can find this here podcast on the Cult of the Podcast Network. This CSPN.us is the website.
Do it today.
You can also find us on this on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Cult of the Podcast Network SoundCloud page. You can also find us recording live every Thursday night, 9:30-ish p.m. On either youtube.com/theclicknation or twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and to give us 5-star reviews.
Please and thank you. Right now, tonight, folks. Oh, I will go ahead and say before we go into anything else. So we just did a Treasury edition, and I probably should have saved this for later, but I'll probably bring it up then. We just did a Treasury edition a couple of days ago on the cut that should never be talked about ever again. We have done the last final word on that particular cut. Y'all know what I'm talking about. So y'all can go back into the feed, into the podcast feed and check that out. But yeah, we are going to start off with kind of speaking of Treasury Edition, which we're probably not going to do one for this. We are going to do a quick recap of Falcon and Winter Soldier episode 2, which is kind of funny because after we did said Treasury Edition, we were talking a good bit about it. So
let's, what we're going to do is try not to forget what we talked about. That's really what it comes down to.
Yeah, it's too late. But yeah, and we will definitely try that. So we're going to start off with the fact that let's see, where's that thing? There we go. Here we go. So yeah, so Falcon and Winter Soldier Parade or episode 2. Let's see, so it's the name of the episode is called The Star Spangled Man.
With a plan.
Of course. And it does, I do kind of remember where it starts off, because it starts off with pretty much that asshole John Walker, and I'm going to call him that, so just he hasn't shown, well, actually he kind of did show that in this episode, but regardless, we see him in a high school locker room. He's getting ready to get he's at his old high school, kind of getting prepped to go out and talk to I guess, I don't know if it was a homecoming game or whatever. It was a football game where he's being presented as a new Captain Marvel in front of his old high school, in front of
even Captain America. He said the new Captain Marvel.
Oh, I did say that. Well,
yes.
That's an insult to her.
I want to call him new Captain America.
Well, that's an insult to her. So I apologize for that. So yeah, we're seeing John Walker being introduced as the new Cap. I'm still not gonna call him Captain America. He's not. But yes, he's the new Cap. He's in a locker room. We've come to find out that he has a wife. And I know this is gonna sound like I'm making this a point, but it kind of might come up with one. But she's black. He also has a black best friend, which he already had in the comic book. So we get to meet him, his best, well, I guess it's his best friend, but his partner, Lamar Hoskins, who is also from the comics. We'll get into that a little bit, and his wife. she's talking to her before he comes in and talks to him, and then he goes out as Cap on the football field, and he's getting introduced. And there's a black marching band, and they're basically making it like, they're not making it, but they're just like, hey, this is a small town. They pretty much do the name of the small town right. So he's from where he's from in the comic books. He goes out into the center field and he's talking to Good Morning America, because if that's not corporate synergy, I don't know what is.
It's Disney for you.
Yep. But and I think all the while, so he's having this interview with this person from Good Morning in America, and then it cuts to both Bucky and Sam watching this on TV, both having seemingly similar emotions about this. Sam seems looks to be a little more conflicted about it than, well, probably, and some would argue Bucky's probably a little bit more conflicted about it than not. But I know, given that Sam was the one who had the shield, and and seemingly duped by the government, as far as we know at this point, kind of has some feels about it. But so we get to that, and then we cut to let's see, Sam going on a mission, Bucky having to shown up at said mission as he's getting briefed on about it, and they're talking about the fact that Sam didn't. Why did Sam give up the shield? And Bucky's kind of railing on, kind of getting on him about it, and and Sam's like, "Look, I'm not having this conversation right now. I got a thing to do." And then he just so happens to brief Bucky on it, and Bucky's like, "I'm going with you." No, you are not. Dean ends up coming. So we get the start of this whole buddy cop thing of theirs, and this intense staring down that this thing then they have to know. They also have before they go on the flight, or before they get on the plane, they have this conversation about the big three, meaning the big three bad guys that they end up always having to fight, and that's androids, wizards, and aliens, which checks out. Because pretty much everybody they have fought. Well, I mean,
I was about to say, I think that's an oversimple.
It is.
I sound like Jimmy Woo. It's an oversimplification of things, but that's basically right. Because
I'm about to say, or Barry Allen and in the Snyder cut, but anyway, we're not to bring that back up.
Yeah, I was about to say I'm going to stick with Jimmy Woo on that
Yeah.
one. So, but as you were saying, once they have that little conversation that was in, I believe, the trailers and or the commercials,
It was.
They head on this transport to Munich, and Bucky's asking, "Is there a plan?" And Falcon just jumps out without saying anything else.
Right, you've seen that part in the trailer, as he says.
Right. One of the airmen says it's too low for a chute, so Bucky has to literally fall while attempting to do it gracefully, but it doesn't work. So he takes off the sleeve to his jacket to attempt to give his vibranium arm as much leeway and freedom to try to break his fall. And how does he try to break his fall? Literally grabbing at branches to try to slow his descent.
Right. So here's his
effort to slow down falling from several hundred feet in the air.
Right. Which was a very funny scene at the end of it, because you see or you hear and see Red Wing with Sam's voice talking about, I got all of that, right? Like, shut up. Why did you?
This will come back later, because what we know, what I didn't realize is that Bucky has never been a big fan of Red Wing, and he's not a fan in this episode, and there is a bit of a comeuppance.
Yes.
So, as Roddykat mentioned, once the time for Bucky to recover from his fall, it's not a landing, it's just a fall.
Pretty much.
Recover that.
Which again, I know he has the super soldier serum, and I know he's got his arm, but and he did, and he was, hurt by it. But I was like, there is no way in the world, even if it was a couple 100 feet, even with his vibranium arm, there is no way in the world he shouldn't have been at least a little bit more hurt than that.
Hey, it's there's only so much you can do to slow down the action.
Yeah, so, true.
I'm sure it had the same effect on me as well. It probably knocked me out of my temporary suspension of disbelief. Right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like, come on,
Yeah,
that
just
had
like
to.
the fight scene. Yeah, just like the fight scene from the last episode.
So, you know what's funny about the fight scene? Before we move on, you wonder. I saw a meme on this
Mm-hmm.
where Bucky, when he's in Winter Soldier mode, he's all like rah,
Right.
and when he's in fighting as Bucky in the Falcon Winter Soldier so far, he's always just kind of like punch kick, and you wonder if it's because he's under that second rule from the
Right.
psychiatrist to not hurt anybody.
I think that's it. Exactly. You hit the nail on the head. Cause cause like I said, like you said, he's in Winter Soldier mode. He probably would have killed him. You know, if he really went for it.
He would have murked all of them.
Right. So I mean, now granted, um, well, even in the upcoming fight, like I said, it is what it is, and there was them being what they were. Um, yeah, he was basically holding back. So I did actually notice that. I was like, yeah, his fighting style is a little bit different because he's not in full on Winter Soldier mode. So
And it's wild because I think I mentioned it during our review of the first episode where I said it was nice to see it
right.
and hear the music again because you just saw him just go after everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Despite the fact that he had to kill Yori's son. Spoiler alert for the first episode. You
Indeed.
know, we didn't ring the spoiler bell for this, but come on, people. It's been a week, but we still have to let you know that yes, we're spoiling episode 2. So as you
Yep.
know, getting back to the story at hand, right? Um, Bucky and Sam are on the hunt for the Flag Smashers, and they meet up in this warehouse that's just a little bit away from their landing zone. And
Which was a funny scene in itself.
oh, we mean as they're going into the warehouse, of
Yeah.
course.
Cause
I
they're
was
having,
just like,
cause they're having their back and forth, and Bucky wants to do things his ways, and he's trying to charge on in, and Sam's like, hold on, we got to, calm yourself. So, like I said, the whole buddy cop vibe is in there the whole time.
right. It's funny that you put it that way because their partnership is literally just starting, right? So
Mm-hmm.
you definitely see the clash in their styles, and you wonder simply because um, Falcon has this level of technology at his beck and call with Red Wing, where he's always looking to use it for reconnaissance. Like it's not, it's similar to Spider-Man's droney,
Mm-hmm.
sending the droney ahead. So he sends Red Wing ahead to scout out, and it's weird to think that Bucky isn't like let's do a little bit of recon first, like let's just charge in and knock some skulls. That
Right.
doesn't seem like the Winter Soldier,
Right.
but in any event, that's just how they've decided to portray this particular buddy cop dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
And so, as Roddykat said, they're bantering slash bickering with each other. And as Bucky goes in stealth mode, there's a little bit of a funny line here where Sam calls him. He says, "Just you're in Wakanda for a little bit. Now you're White Panther."
Oh yeah, and then he's actually,
Right, he corrects him and says, "Actually, it's White Wolf."
wife. Mm-hmm.
So
And Sam's like, what?
so essentially they meet up inside, and as they unfortunately give away their position, the Flag Smashers ignore that and just kind of go on their way because they're apparently are in a hurry.
Mm-hmm.
So the two of them make a break for it. And what's wild is that Bucky does does a super soldier run
Yeah,
to get the truck.
and that threw
And
me
I'm
the
like,
fuck
wait,
off.
that truck doesn't say anything or do anything. He runs in front of one of the trucks to get to the middle truck.
Right. I thought the exact same thing. I was like, wait, he's on the back of this truck and in front of another truck. Nobody shot at him. No, they didn't. Just like, oh look, there's somebody there. I'm like, okay.
Right. So what's wild about this is Bucky discovers what they're stealing. He finds out that they're stealing medicines, vaccines, and he sees who he presumes to be a hostage. And it is not a hostage. It is, in fact, a young female that now we know is Carly Morgenthau,
Mm-hmm.
who is apparently, at least for now, who we think to be the head flag smasher, the the gender bent Flag Smasher from the comics.
Right. Presumably, maybe the original was her dad or something. We don't know. I don't think it gets into any of that. But also, I'm just going to sit here and say, for Star Wars nerds, Bucky gets his ass kicked by NF Nest from the Solo movie, because that's who this young lady also is.
Correct. So as they kind of go at it, they move the fight to the top of the truck, and then the trailing truck decides to pull alongside to give them more space to fight, I guess. And Carly grabs Red Wing and destroys it.
Right, just
like,
breaks it across her knee, like I'm like, no, Red Wing. But also this scene, for those people who play Overcooked, will know this scene pretty easily, because you're doing things. There's two trucks that are side by side, blocking the road, mind you, because it looked like it was just a 2-lane highway, so some should have got given at some point. But hey, we're not gonna talk about that. So they're fighting on these two trucks, and but that just kind of put me in mind of Overcooked. But yes, so as they're fighting, and like I said, not doing incredibly well, but kind of holding their own. Along comes a helicopter with John Walker and his partner Lamar Hoskins, who we end up finding out is named Battlestar, not Galactica.
As he is in the comics.
Exactly, I was about to say, as he is in the comics. So they join the fight, and John does a thing with the shield, and they pretty much lose. So we come to find out during the course of this fight, like, John's handed with the shield. Neither one of them at this point seem to be powered. Him or Lamar seem to be powered, because while they kind of hold their own, they still end up getting tossed off the truck.
They get whacked.
Yeah. So they get which I guess is in a similar way to, because didn't that happen to Cap during one of the movies? Like, didn't he got knocked off a truck into a car in a similar manner? I feel like that kind of happened, but I might be wrong.
Yeah, by Ultron.
Okay, so
yeah, I think that was.
Oh yeah. Because that was the same scene that Black Widow was like, I always got to pick up after you boys, or something like that. I do remember that part. So anyway, so that happens, and then they all end up talking on a ride, a simulated ride into town that Falcon and Bucky were like kind of hesitant to do, but Cap was like, we're trying to compare notes, and come to find out that they tracked him because of Red Wing, actually. And then John Walker's like, well, it would be nice to have Captain America's sidekick at my side.
Oh.
And huh?
Oh, as soon as I heard him say that, I was like, oh.
Yep. And as Falcon said, it was like, it's always that last line, and then he hops out the truck and catches up to Bucky, who was already gotten out the truck and walking away. So yeah, that's where are we at here? Because I forgot.
You mentioned the fact that I think you might have said it, but I think I was zoning out a little. That Costco Cap and Battlestar. I heard Costco Cap and I like it.
Nice.
No Costco, but Costco Cap and Battlestar were tracking them through Red Wing.
Yeah, I did say that. I did say that. Mm-hmm.
That they're with the government.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and that comes back up later, because he also says, I am the government, or something like that. Same line he says later on, but I'm like, okay, whatever. So, yeah, like I said, that happens. Wait,
this is when Bucky lets Sam know
that
they should take the shield for themselves.
Right.
And that at this point, it was a little weird. Bucky's like, I think there's someone you should meet.
Yeah. Like, this was don't get me wrong. This part was, one heartbreaking, but also, great. So they end up going to.
Hold the thought, because I think you were trying to skip past this part where we catch up with the Flag Smashers.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, just very quickly, hold your thought. I'll take care of this part. Then you can talk about who Bucky and Falcon go to meet. Um, what ends up happening is that there's we transition to Carly Morgenthau and the Flag Smashers. They're being taken in by a sympathizer, and they reach a safe house. And at that point, they go online and they find out that um, um, they're basically burned, like they're being that their IDs are being spread online. And she gets a text. Carly gets a text from an unknown number saying, "You
Oh
took what was
yes.
mine. I'm going to find you and kill you." She hides the phone, but um, as I said earlier, the other Flag Smashers warned that this global repatriation council that I don't know if you went into that earlier, and Interpol knows who they are, and this global repatriation council is, I guess, something that has been put together to help people who came back from the blip.
Right. No, it didn't. That part I didn't mention. So yeah.
Because
So
this is our first time really hearing the acronym and the name of the group.
right, and I think, and we don't, as I recall, we don't get the name of the person who Carly gets the text from at this point, but we will in a little bit. So yeah, back to the point back to the thing I was getting to real quick was Bucky decides to take Tam to Baltimore to meet one Isaiah Bradley, aka
No, I'm kidding.
wait, what?
I said, you mean Mantis?
I know, I was about to say that too. aka Carl Lumbly, aka Mantis, if you are of a certain vintage and know of that show. Um, so yeah, so they go to meet Isaiah Bradley, and they talk to him. Well, he talks to them because Bucky basically tries to introduce Sam to him, and it happens. But and there was talk about when Bucky and so this is kind of weird actually, but when Bucky and Isaiah met, I believe he mentions 51. And I could have sworn, like, I'm trying to remember when the time frame of when Bucky got. Oh no, never mind. So they basically met when he was a Winter Soldier back in 51.
Right, because remember, Bucky's captured before the end of World War II.
Right, and that was the part because when I saw this part, I was like, wait, that doesn't make sense because he was like, but then I thought about it because like, oh right, Hydra, and then Winter Soldier. So Isaiah was like, yo, you mean when I kicked your ass, which I thought was good, but then he kind of goes into um in some kind of real world parallels because they're basically was like, yo, so yeah, they locked him up for 30 years, for XYZ reasons, and the fact that they experimented on him, which again is a real world parallel to that, and he served his country with no thanks to only to get only to get put in jail for, I believe did he say that they mentioned the fact that he was they said
He essentially turned into he was essentially made a lab experiment. He essentially became what Steve Rogers would have been,
right,
or what he was worried about becoming, which was, if he had gone to Alamogordo and become a lab rat the way Colonel Phillips had wanted him to in the first Avenger,
right,
where, you know, obviously he's a white man, so he might not have been subjected to the same the same BS. Let's
right,
put it that way.
yes,
That Isaiah was. But at the end of the day, essentially what happened to Isaiah is what they had intended to have happen to Cap, which is try to find a way to reproduce a successful super soldier serum recipient.
right. So that whole
Or to
scene,
mass produce. I meant mass produce.
correct. So that whole scene was kind of hard, because like I said, partially because of the real world look at it, and and also because of some very good acting by Carl Lumbly, in this, and you could kind of see Sam's expression as they get, they was like, all right, go, y'all got to go, So they leave and they're outside of his house talking. And Sam's obviously upset. Like, no one, no one told. Why is this not bigger information? Why does nobody know about this? And he's kind of upset about it. And Bucky tried to, says whatever he says, but then they both get interrupted by Baltimore's finest, who in another kind of a real world parallel thinks one thing.
It's not a kind of real world parallel. This was
yeah,
ridiculous.
this is very real. Yeah.
As Roddykat was about to mention, or as he was beginning to mention, Bucky and Sam are literally just having not even a heated argument.
Right.
They're just having a loud disagreement.
Right.
That's a fine line. And what ends up happening are two squad cars roll up on them, and they basically get the harassment, and they do not recognize, they don't know what's going on, but they immediately start to harass Sam,
right,
until realizes that it's in fact the Falcon. And in a clever little twist, once that's cleared up, and they present their IDs, I guess, they end up having to take in Bucky because he is on a parole violation.
Right. And the scene ends with Sam just kind of looking at this happening still. And in a similar scene to the last episode, when he and his sister's loan got denied, he pretty much had the same look on his face, like, this is some bull. I don't believe this is happening. It's kind of situation, which again, real world, and it also could have gone the other way, but like I just said, like, yeah, they did a clever little twist here. But still it folks the same thing, because it could have very well went the other way. So we cut to later, and this is also another scene that's been partially.
Hold your thought. I was just looking at the summary. Hold your thought. The funniest part about this is that Bucky says, "Don't you know who this is?"
Right.
He doesn't say, "Don't you know who I am?"
Right.
Because he doesn't want anyone to know who he is. He's the Winter Soldier.
Well, yeah, that is actually true. That is correct. Yeah.
So I kind of got, I kind of chuckled at that. I was like, "Look at that." He says, "Don't you know who this is?"
Right.
Yeah,
right.
That's right. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, you're good. No, that was a good point to make. It was a good point to make. So yeah, this cuts to what seemingly like a little while, or I guess like a few hours later, because it's dark, and they're at the police station. Bucky gets released, and we come to find out that it's John Walker was the one that released him. Sam is there, but also Dr. Rayner shows up, and
because the parole violation is missing a therapy session.
Exactly. And so this therapy session happens now when Dr. Rayner is like, "No, you two come with me. We're doing this now, in an interrogation room," which I guess they had permission to do. I don't know. And this is where we get the scene from the trailer where where they're kind of hashing things out, and they're sitting across from each other real close. And again, like, as leading up to that part was still kind of funny, because it was like, oh, so we want to do this now? That kind of thing is going on. And like, oh, we want to get close? Want to get close? Let's get close. Let's do this. That's fine. Yeah, Doc. All right. Yeah, I'm liking this. Let's. I like what you do, because you tend to forget Sam has overseen therapy session, support groups before, so he kind of knows some of the things that she's doing. So when she mentions the one thing that they ended up doing, which is the thing we see in the trailer, she's like, "Oh, this is like, oh yeah, this is gonna be great. I love it. I'm loving this, Doc. This is good." So, and they do that whole staring thing again, and the whole scene just kind of plays out, and they kind of hash out part of the issue. I don't think we get everything, but right. they come to an understanding of them working together.
Right. This is the crux of the issue. What it comes down to is, and I really love the writing for their back and forth in this particular scene, because Bucky basically says, and this is what he says, "Why'd you give up the shield? Steve believed in you. Maybe he was wrong about you, but if he was wrong about you, maybe he was wrong about me."
Right.
And I'm like, oh snap, that's pretty deep.
Right, which is something you don't think about until he said that. It's like, huh, Okay. Like but it also comes off as like, well, you're making this about you, right? But it also makes sense.
No, it makes sense because of Bucky's backstory,
Right.
because of his recent history as being a brainwashed dupe of Hydra.
Right.
But then Sam comes back with an equally strong, heartfelt response, which is, you may never understand, but I did what I thought was right.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, there you go.
Mm-hmm. And again, we still don't. There's still part of that we still don't get, because like his reasoning last episode and even this right here still kind of skirts around things.
Mm-hmm.
But I would imagine I'm gonna hope at some point before the next couple of episodes comes in doubt that's gonna get addressed. But even if it doesn't, we got enough.
I think we're definitely on our way to it. This is just the tip of the iceberg.
Right. So
That's what
yeah. So moving from that, after they have this, and they both, they come to an understanding of their working relationship with each other, and they pretty much end. It was like, yeah, we do this, and we never have to work with each other again, or never have to see each other ever again. Which I feel like that's probably not going to happen. So they go outside, and John Walker's there, and Battlestar is there, and they talk again, and basically they have John wants them to all work together, and they have a conversation about that, and Sam's like, well, look, you're a little bit more profile, and you got more restrictions than we do, so we're gonna do things our way, because we got a little more leeway than you guys do. And then of course in one dick moment, John's like, well, fine, then just stay out of my way, and then just walks off. So then we cut back to the Flashmasters, who are apparently trying to board a plane, and they get found by the folks chasing them, which I think this is at this moment we find out is the power brokers people, right, in the first naming of the power broker. So again, I'm hoping, like, are we going to get the UCW? Is Malice going to show up? We still haven't seen the power broker, but I think we hear his voice in one of the actually, I'm not sure if we hear his voice, because I don't think it's just his people. Yeah, I think it's just the people that come through. Yeah. So one of the Flag Smashers kind of like, well, I'll hold them off while y'all go, and power to the people, or whatever their slogan is for the Flag Smashers, and he does his best to do that, but gets taken out.
One world, one people.
Yeah, there you go. Gets taken out by the people chasing him as the plane takes off. Which, yeah. So here's the thing about that. Like, yeah, super soldiers are not invulnerable. We know this. But like, I kind of wonder if they did kind of use some sort of special armament to kind of take them down, because like I said, super soldiers are not invulnerable, but it does take a good bit to take them out. I mean, bullets still work, obviously, but so.
Right. Kind of surprised that they're not wearing body armor, but what do you
there is also that, but yeah, go figure.
So as Roddykat said, the Flag Smashers do get away. Or did you mention that they?
Yeah, I did say that.
So they did get away, obviously minus this one person who was basically fighting holding action to keep them, to keep the power brokers men off their butts. Back in Baltimore, Bucky has the bright idea to go talk to Zemo, because he knows all of Hydra's secrets, because he looked into Hydra. He looked up and down everything that was exposed of Hydra after the after the Scarlet Johansson, after the Black Widow dropped all of their secrets onto the internet during Captain America: The Winter Soldier. So he says, let's go see Zemo, and we zoom in on Daniel Bruhl, Zemo, sitting on his bed looking at a chessboard.
Yep. So
and we end this episode, going into tomorrow, April 2nd's third episode.
Right. So is that whole thing saying that Zemo has, more to do with this that we know about, or is just so happen to be the fact that, Zemo's one of these people and he just likes chess because he thinks he's smarter than everybody.
We'll see. It'll be interesting to see how this goes because this is definitely combining several hints of previous stories, but it's definitely going in its own direction.
Exactly. So that ends the episode, and we do have a couple. There is definitely some Easter eggs here. One that I totally forgot to mention. During the Isaiah Bradley scene, that the person that Bucky and Sam first meet is this younger guy who's like, trying not to have him see him, but he goes to talk to Isaiah. We believe this person is one Elijah Bradley, who, if all things come to pass, will become the new Patriot. And we think that and Elijah is also Isaiah's grandson, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct.
So presumably we will get a little bit more into that as these episodes go by, or at some point. There's also apparently an Easter egg on Zemo's cell number, which is the same cell number that was in Star Wars: A New Hope that Leia was in. I've seen that come up in a couple of places, but I didn't think too much of that one. And I think one of the other ones, at least according to this article, and because I've already mentioned the Custer's Grove thing, but there was a sticker on the Flashmasters safe house that says Hauser, which could be a reference to Harry Hauser, which was the host of the Hauser Retort, which was a radio talk show that criticized Sam after he became Captain America in the comics. So
I don't remember that. Well,
yeah, I don't remember that one either. So that's an interesting little tidbit from this article we're reading. But yeah, so that was the episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and like Agent 70 said, we are a few hours short of.
Wait, you mentioned the Princess Leia connection?
I did, sir. Okay, sorry. Really?
I completely was. I was looking at basketball scores.
Wow. Anyway, so yeah, we're a few hours short away from a new episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier as of the recording of this episode. So from that, unless you got something else to mention.
No. I think we can move on because that new episode is coming up very shortly.
Yep. Then we will get into the comic books of the week.
I was going to say, unless anyone wants to talk about Godzilla versus Kong real quick.
No, because I hadn't seen it yet. So
you didn't watch it yet? Oh man.
So as I may have mentioned on the show previously, I have not seen the ones that are leading up to Godzilla. And if you have spent any amount of time on this show, know that I have to do this. So I've watched Skull Island, Kong Skull Island, which is a very silly movie. And I watched the 2014 Godzilla. Right. So now I just got King of the Monsters and going into Godzilla versus Kong, which I'll probably do in the next day or so.
Gotcha. All I can say is, without spoiling anything, is that there's nothing like a movie like this, which is a lot of fun.
I've heard that.
Actually do the fights a service,
right.
A good service, without getting too far into blue language. All I remember yelling at the TV was, "Kick his ass! I am Team Godzilla."
Yes, we have established that. Also worth noting, these movies have a weird have some interestingly weird Marvel connections. Because because Kong Island had Tom Hiddleston, Sam Jackson, and Brie Larson. Right. So Loki, Nick Fury, and Captain Marvel before this, and done right before that movie, or before Captain Marvel. Godzilla, the 2014 Godzilla, had Aaron Taylor Thomas and Elizabeth Olsen. Not playing Wanda and Pietro, but playing husband and wife, which is kind of funny. And again, right before Age of Ultron.
Right.
So that's funny. So I don't know. And also had Bryan Cranston, who I don't think has done any Marvel work yet, but kind of acted his ass off for those short times he was in there. Um, but yeah, so yeah, I'm hoping I'm gonna get to King of the Monsters and Godzilla versus Kong before the weekend is out. Likely,
It's fun.
I've
They
heard that.
definitely without and it's not a big surprise and it's not really a huge spoiler because of how these monsters have been characterized, but they definitely play Kong as being far more sympathetic.
Right, which they did in
So,
Kong Island also.
so it's not that's not a surprise. It's not a spoiler. It's something that if you had any understanding of the characters going into this,
Hmm.
even without the previous movies that you're trying to catch up on,
Right,
you can still figure that as the point of view that they would take. So
right. That being said,
now
yeah.
we get into the. So
Now
I
we get
was
to go through the.
looking forward to yelling about Godzilla versus Kong as soon as I remembered it. So
Right. Yeah. There's one other thing we'll bring up. So don't if you're wondering, but we'll bring that up when we get to the news section. So don't you worry about that. But right now, we're going to start off with the comic books with Black Cat #4.
alrighty, it's written by Jed McKay with art not for the only book this week. Art by Nina Vacueva, colors by Brian Reber, and letters by Ferran Delgado.
Yeah. So we're basically back to before King in Black. Thank goodness. And we, in fact, I think, yes, we're pretty much going back to the end of the last volume of Black Cat when we get introduced to uh, this person in a color switched Black
Like a
Cat
rover
outfit.
color, yeah.
Yeah. So at the last page of the last volume, we get the introduction to the person, and both Agent 70 and I were like, "Who is this person? We have no idea." Well, we're getting a lot more about this person in this issue here right now. So we get introduced to, well, we get, I guess, reintroduced technically because I believe she did show up somewhere. Like I said earlier before the show, she did come up somewhere else in the past.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Um,
look for that now. Go ahead.
yeah, because I was actually doing that. So while you're looking that up, so Queen Cat is the person that we're talking about. One Lily Hollister, or at least that's what her former name was. Because apparently we get a couple of times in this issue to where I don't know who that person is because apparently something happened and she almost drowned, but lost a bunch of. She lost all of her memories up until like a year ago. So she only knows the Queen Cat, and she's going through an identity crisis. So we kind of get this whole monologue through her. This whole issue is pretty much her monologuing through it, and her becoming a bat. Actually, not becoming a bat because she kind of already was. But if you take that reference, but she get into her head that all she knows is the Queen Cat, and that all she knows is that she needs to go after the Black Cat for whatever reason, because she knows she used to be a hero, and she knows she's also done some bad stuff. But in order for her to be a hero, she needs a villain. So that's what has it has her going after the Black Cat. If you hear any background noise, I apologize, folks.
So,
Um,
so hold that thought. It's in, believe it or not, this is actually going way back. Axis
yes.
Hobgoblin #3. Axis. You
Uh
know
huh.
how long ago Axis was in real time?
A while.
Holy cow, people!
Right.
Axis.
Yeah, I saw that reference. It was like, wow, this is a Y from pull from here, but okay, sure.
But then, if anyone remembers, Lily Hollister was Menace, and
Right.
that goes back a long way during the Dan Slott Spidey run.
Right,
That was a
which
ago now.
that gets mentioned here in this issue before getting cut off. So she's basically to make a long story short, she's actually going back through the last volume of or of her placement during the last volume of Black Cat, and she's tracking Black Cat and her crew at the various heists or at some various heists that she's done, and also making a connection to the other dude that was going after her at a time, who apparently had stopped, who has met his match and was like, I give up. So he so we see her kind of tracking the cat and her crew through that, meeting up with this Ocampo dude, talking to him, and it's like, well, he's a critter, but I'm not. And then she ends up meeting up. Well, actually, excuse me, Black Cat ends up running up on her because because Queen Cat ends up stealing something from her that she got from the Gray was it the Gray Fox? What is that dude's name? That dude's name? The old dude that taught her?
Black Fox.
Black Fox. Thank you. I knew it was a fox in there, but I couldn't remember which color it was. So yeah, after that, which I think we saw that in the last volume, but we didn't get to see who. I can't remember if we saw who it was. But regardless, because of this, Felicia tracks her down. They have a little fight, but obviously Felicia gets the upper hand and talking about, "Oh, there, Buttercup. If you need a villain, I'll be that villain for you. But keep trying. You lost this round, but keep trying."
Right. She's the old veteran.
Right.
She's basically breaking in the young rookie, and I just thought, it was funny, because it was condescending, but in the right way.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. Like, if this is what you need, then yeah, go for it and you keep trying. But you got lessons to learn, basically.
Absolutely.
So, and that's pretty much how this whole issue plays out. And it was a good issue. I enjoyed it. Like I said, Black Cat is kind of one of our one of our I don't want to say go-to books, and I can't necessarily say fave, but it's definitely one of our faves.
I would say it's one of our favorites. I would also mention that and reiterate what Roddykat said earlier, which is it's nice that this book is now back in its prior direction before King and Black decided to muck everything up.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, definitely check out Black Cat if you have not before.
And thankfully, King and Black is over as of next week.
Oh, good, great. Because I know we still got a couple of them this week, and so I'll imagine to get to that. So next up, what did we say? Where you want to go to?
Beta Ray Bill.
All right, bet.
Beta Ray Bill #1 is a new miniseries with it's written by Daniel Warren Johnson with art by Daniel Warren Johnson, colors by Mike Spicer, and letters by Daniel Warren Johnson in part, and VC's Joe Sabino.
Yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson definitely. I feel like that's a name I've may have come across before, and I don't remember what I read, but like clearly was trying to have his fingers into everything here.
Right. I mean, this is definitely this book, and I'm not sure. I'm not that familiar with Daniel Warren Johnson, but there is a definite indie comic vibe from the layout and just from the general way this story is paced. Mm-hmm. So that is, I believe, where Daniel Warren Johnson comes to us from. But I'm going to Google this, and it's a shame I didn't read or listen to the interview he had with Walt Simonson. I think it was on Marvel.com.
Mm-hmm.
So, he had a webcomic, Space Mullet, since collected by Dark Horse Comics. Okay.
Murder Falcon.
What's that?
Murder Falcon.
Murder Falcon.
That's where I know him from. Yes.
Okay.
Murder Falcon was was it an Image book? Or was it Aftershock? I can't remember. Hold on, I'm looking this up real quick. But yes, Murder Falcon was the book that I know him from. It's an Image comic book that basically it was like, I think it was this like dude. There was a lot of heavy metal imagery, and of course the hero of the story was this almost like a genie type situation where this dude can summon this Falcon with this metal arm called Murder Falcon. I think I read it. We talked about it on the show one time reading the first episode, but I think I don't think anybody read it after that.
Got it.
But regardless, so yeah, we're getting back to Beta Ray Bill. I enjoyed this because, as Agent 70 said before the show, this got a little personal than he thought it was going to be. But I felt like the articles leading up to this was kind of hitting towards that point. But we see Bill in a flashback of his memory, in a flashback in his memory to before.
Hit pause. Spoiler warning. because this does spoil some of the things that happen
Yeah.
in Thor that have not yet been published.
Well, I wasn't gonna actually mention that part, but yeah, that's good to.
Because it does, because if you do happen to pick this book up, and I didn't realize it when I read it, there's a couple of things in here that are mildly, they're mild spoilers, but spoiled nonetheless.
Right.
The ending of the current Thor arc, the
Right.
the Prey arc with Donald Blake. So go ahead.
Right. So we get a past memory flashback to before Bill ends up going off on his sojourn with Scuttlebutt, his ship. I guess when he's chosen, that's what we get the flashback of. Then cut to present day when in King of Black, actually, where there's a battle at Asgard, where he's taking the lead of, and Sif is there. And Bill has this rousing speech that gets cut off by Fin Fang Foom, who apparently was possessed by Null, I guess.
Right.
So they fight, and Bill's Bill, not having his former weapon, kind of does what he can. He fights him well enough, but then Thor just happens to come in and sweep up and take up all the credit, which leaves Bill, feeling a certain way. He and Thor.
I was about to say, keep in mind that Bill is essentially at the power level that he, I guess, some nominal level of Asgardian power.
Right.
Remember when Thor and Beta Ray Bill fought for Mjolnir in Beta Ray Bill's first appearance arc? They were essentially evenly matched.
Right.
Power wise. So Bill is no slouch.
True. But given a null possessed Fin Fang Foom and not having Stormbreaker anymore, kind of took a little bit of starch out of him.
Right.
So yeah, like I said, that happened. That also, I don't know if you noticed this, but did you notice Bill's epaulets during the right before Thor jumps in? Like one of these epaulets has the image that I'm fairly certain was on the cover of a Thor a Thor issue.
Give me a moment.
Sure. And while he's doing that, I'm gonna go through the rest of it real quick because there's really not much to it outside of Bill and Thor talk before there's a celebration around the celebration of the victory. And Bill's kind of feeling some kind of way, but then he goes as he's leaving the celebration, meets up with Thor, who they try to have some intimate time, but that gets interrupted by the fact that the spoilers that Agent 70 mentioned just now, which again I'm not going to give away just in case anybody wants to read that, but this pretty much sends Bill off in a funk. And he was basically like, I gotta go because I gotta find out who I am now and all this kind of good mess. And that's where he and Thor talk actually at the end of this issue. And he's basically just like, yeah, you always come in and get the credit, and I'm just like second to you, and so I gotta figure out who I am now and you can't, and he's gonna go off and said he's going to go off and find Odin to see if he can get another version of Stormbreaker again, so he could actually, have his life basically back, or a part of his life basically back. And then that is pretty much where this issue ends. And also, I don't know if you noticed, but there's also Beta Ray Bill apparently likes Hook, the movie. Because you see him watching a TV, and you see, you pretty much see the sounds coming off the TV, and there's a name that gets dropped that evokes something. And I don't think I've ever seen Hook, but I know who this character is that gets mentioned.
You know what's funny? I was talking earlier about an interview that where Daniel Warren Johnson and Walter Simonson talked. It's actually at the end of this issue. It's in the mail. It's in where the mailbag would be.
Gotcha.
So we can both read that when we get a chance.
Mm-hmm.
We don't necessarily have to go online to do it, but it's actually in the letters page. It's like 3 pages long.
Right. I saw it. I just skimmed it though because I've also was looking at the cover images that they had in there. but I didn't actually read it.
So I'm looking forward to taking a look at that. But yeah, when I mentioned that this got a lot more personal, a lot more intimate, without spoiling anything, I didn't realize that that's where this was going to go. But again, that's where some of the spoiler stuff comes into play. So, but unfortunately, the next issue of Thor is not coming out next week. It might hopefully comes out before the next issue of Beta Ray Bill comes out. So we'll have some closure on that story, and then it won't be too much of a spoiler anymore.
Right, but if you're a fan of Beta Ray Bill, you should definitely check this out because it was a pretty well done issue. I would say as a starter issue, and again, it's definitely different from, or slightly different from, like we've seen this. I don't know if this is what counts as the hero's journey, but I guess if it does, this is kind of the start of it.
Yeah, and I was looking at the epaulets. I don't necessarily see what you're referring to.
So the one on his right looks like it looks like either I dare say, I don't know if it's supposed to be like him holding the hammer out. Like if you see, like if you look at that and look at the very cover in the back, I think there was an actual Thor cover that was supposedly an image of. And like I said, it struck me because I was like, it definitely looked familiar, but I don't remember what issue it was or, what it was, and I didn't have a chance to look before the show.
Gotcha. Yeah, I don't really recognize it, but I'll take a closer look.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, unless you got something else on that one, we can push on.
Oh, moving on.
Silk #1. Let's do that one.
Sounds good. Silk #1. It's written by Maureen Gu, with art by Takeshi Miyazawa, colors by Ian Herring, and letters by VC's Ariana Maher. Something that Roddykat brought up and made me chuckle because he's 100% on point. We've imported at least 2/3 of the former Magnificent Miss Marvel and Miss Marvel art teams, at least in terms of the art and colors of Taka Miyazawa and Ian Herring.
And if you're a fan of Miyazawa's art, like we are, and it's still some good looking stuff in here, But we find so I still need to kind of catch up on some things Silk, but I feel like I know enough to have been able to have read this issue, because I wasn't going to read this issue until I kind of went back on myself, but I was like, nah, that's going to take too long.
I was about to say, I am behind on the second Silk series,
right?
The one that happened post Secret Wars. So I, in a sense, I'm in the same boat as Roddykat, and it probably doesn't hurt to be up on top of all of that reading,
right?
But at the same time, I think Maureen Gu does a good job of setting up a new status quo for Cindy Moon in this first issue of her latest series. So we start off this series with Cindy doing the superhero thing, and it's really well written.
Yeah,
I can't stress enough that Maureen Gu's story and her dialogue is very sharp.
Yes. Now, if you've seen,
not banter, right, but it's very
right. If you've seen preview pages of this issue, then you would have seen the first couple of pages of this already.
I stay away from previews. Damn it, we get spoiled enough.
That's true.
But anyway, go ahead.
Yeah, but as Agent 70 said, yeah, we definitely get Cindy doing superhero, and that I did enjoy that whole thing also. So at the end of this, she gets a gift, which I'm sitting here still thinking about. It's like she was given a gift, which she was like, "Nah, superheroes are ethics and all that." But then it was like, "Well, what about this other thing from last year's model and last year's line or whatever?" And she takes it. And she webs things off with it, but she wears it because she even says like, yeah, I got a thing tomorrow, so sure, this will work. And I'm sitting here thinking, what if this person, same person that she helped out, happened to notice somebody just happened to be walking around with this thing, with this outfit she has on that she just got, and just puts 2 and 2 together. Like, yeah, the chances of that are what they are, but I'm sitting here like, I don't know, this is Marvel New York. Anything could happen. Anything like that could happen. But that did happen. So that was just a thought of my own. So we come to find out this next day, and we found out that Cindy Moon is living. Well, her brother's living with her, which I guess may have come up somewhere. And she's starting her first day at Threats and Menaces with J. Jonah Jameson, again working for J. Jonah. Huh?
It's her first day as a reporter.
Right, as a reporter.
She was working as an intern.
Right, correct. But it was also, wasn't it the Fact Channel? Yeah, when they were at the Fact Channel, right?
Was it at the Fact Channel? I just remember that she was an intern because
right.
I don't know if that happened outside of her solo series. Maybe it was in the pages of another book.
No, I believe that was in her. No, I believe
right,
that was in her solo series.
Right, they make a reference of it here.
Right,
where she to get J. Jonah's coffee because it was part of learning the learning the ropes. Oh, it was a rite of passage.
Yeah, oh yeah, Jonah says rite of passage. And of course, Jonah being the old stodgy misogynist that he, or kind of sort of misogynist that he is, he kind of mentions this. We'll talk about that in a little bit, but yeah, this is our first day, and of course, Cindy Moon being Cindy Moon, which again, as I think I say in my notes, she comes off like you forget, like if you know anything about Cindy Moon's character. So she was bitten by the same spider that Peter did, one, but she was I'm trying to remember the Netflix show, but it's fine, it doesn't really matter, but she was pretty much trapped in a bunker for like 10 years before being let out. So she missed a whole decade of life in her in her introduction. So she kind of comes off a little bit younger than what she actually is.
Right.
And you forget that, or at least I forget that.
Yeah, it's not necessarily immature. It's just because she's essentially time displaced.
Exactly. So, but you tend to forget, like I said, you tend to forget that. At least I tend to forget that that's the case when reading her, because again, even at certain points, like she definitely comes off, when she's, especially if you read like Agents of Atlas, she comes off when she's serious about some stuff, kind of older stuff, but you also can see the shades of her times displacement there as well, because even in some of her dialogue. Even J. Jonah Jameson in this context is calling her analog, which I assume was a one from previously. I don't know if that's the case or that's new. Okay.
No, it's an old one.
Okay, gotcha. But yeah, so like I said, she's going through the day and she's doing her thing, and Nora Winter shows up to be Nora Winters, the big bee that she is. But long story short, that she ends up working on this. She ends up tagging along with this other reporter of that works there, and they come along a murder thing, or a similar murder thing, but there's some things don't add up, so they go back to the office. She's writing up the thing, but apparently she ends up publishing in it because she was tired. Which puts J. Jonah Jameson in a line of fire, and she ends up becoming Jonah's reluctant bodyguard near the end of this issue. But and on that note, and in some actually pretty interesting banter in between both Cindy and Jonah, and Silk and Jonah, because that whole part that he was talking to Silk was kind of amusing, because again, like I said, he's kind of quote unquote old fashioned, and the way he talks is still kind of that way in certain context, in certain lights, and in here they're definitely playing that up. And I said in my notes, so like I kind of wonder what would happen if Jonah knew Cindy's connection to Peter, because he knows Peter's Spidey at this point. So like I kind of wonder if he would treat her any different if he knew
the entirety of the connection. He knows there's got to be a connection.
Right. So that one part was kind of funny to me. I doubt that was even going to come up in this course of this, but like I said, that was just an amusing aside. But at the end of this, we kind of find out that Silk ends up being Jonah's bodyguard, but we also find out that she gets this lead on a person that runs a tech company that maybe has definitely has ties to a cat demon, and we see that at the end of this issue before it ends. So I enjoyed. I think this was. I almost would say this is a potential click of the week.
Yeah,
For this week.
I thought it was a great first issue.
Mm-hmm. Like even like Agent 7 said, even if you're not caught up on like we are on Silk, this is a pretty good way to come in on it. So that being the case, I think we can move on unless you got something else you want to mention about it.
No, I'm good.
Okay, so
What's next?
you got. Do you maybe have one more you want to throw out before we go into rapid fire, or we want to go into it? Because actually, I need to take one of these off because I didn't read it. Boop.
Let's see what you read. We could talk about X-Men number 19.
Sure. Okay. I'll do the credits on this one. X-Men number 19, written by one Jonathan Hickman. Art by Mahmoud Arsarar, color artist Sonny Go, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. Take it away.
Sure. So, again, we are following the adventures of the three-person X Squad, Darwin, Sync, and X-23/Wolverine, who were sent into the Children of the Vault dimension to do some reconnaissance and find out more about that erstwhile X-Men foe, the erstwhile X-Men foes that have not been seen for quite a while, but now have made their return. And sorry, with X-23, Sync, and Darwin doing their level best to find out any information that they can, including weaknesses. They have been in this dimension which moves at a speed at a time that is far greater than time would pass here in this dimension. So they spend several, I don't want to say several hundred years, but definitely more than 100 years in this other dimension as they are both scouting, observing, reconnoitering, and then fighting for their lives.
Right.
And essentially, we find out that the three of them run into lots of problems. They get separated. One gets captured.
Two get
And
captured.
ultimately, two of them make their way back.
Not two
without
get captured.
spoiling.
Yeah.
What's that?
Two get captured.
No, but two of them eventually. I'm skipping past all that.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Yeah. One gets captured and stays captured, but two definitely get captured initially.
Right. Two of them eventually make their way back to Krakoa.
Right.
And that seems to indicate that they are going back at some point to go back for the one that was left behind.
Right.
And that's like broad strokes. Do you have anything to add to that?
You pretty much covered it. I think, as I said before the show, there was definitely so the kind of conventions that were done in this issue have been done before. Like you mentioned, time displaced enemies, like we will probably talk about after a while. But also, kind of now that I'm thinking about shades of Hoxpox in here. Not necessarily. Well, kind of, sort of with the Moira stuff. Because in her case, she lives like different lives, but the same life, different different ways. And this is just pretty much just going, them just kind of just being time displacing, going into generations. Like, and I feel like we've seen this kind of stuff like that, and it is also couched in kind of a pseudo love story with a couple of the characters that kind of gets reset at the end of this. So there's a couple of things that are actually going on in this issue, and it was pretty good. Let's just to round that out.
Right. It was well written. It was well executed.
Mm-hmm. So, and yeah, like Agent 7 said, like we'll at some point, even if they don't do it the next issue, they're definitely going to be back here at some point to kind of deal with what they found out during the course of this.
Right.
Because even in the data pages and Yeah, between the data pages and what some of the narration, like you can kind of see some hoxpox shenanigans going on with the Moira stuff in the way that's being told and in the way that it kind of goes off. So, but yeah, good stuff if you read it. That being said, I guess if we got nothing else pressing, we can go to rapid fire.
Fire it is. I'm going to spin it up. Fire.
Rapid fire, cuz. Let's see. You want to go ahead and
We
go?
have several crossovers in our list.
Haha, boom.
I will lead off and get the ball rolling. So, crossover number 5. This is an image book written by Donny Cates with art by Jeff Shaw, colors by D. Cuniff, and letters by John J. Hill. So, in this latest issue of this crossover, the paybacks, the characters who we have met in the crossover, and Madman. This is a big spoiler alert for anyone who is not caught up on this. Is that we do get some Donny Cates crossover and the appearance of Mike Allred's Madman in this story that involves the comic book world kind of infringing upon a version of the real world and all of the ramifications that come from that. And one of the other Kate's properties that comes into this is, I believe, God Country with the sword, and the sword from God Country. And at the end of the day, um, some stuff has happened to cause a breakout in one of the facilities that were containing some of the supers that had become part of the real world, and that facility has since had a breakout, and things are looking pretty dire when we reach the end of this issue.
Okay.
Anything else?
I never read it.
Oh, I thought it's on your list.
No. No, I hadn't
Oh.
read it yet. I need to go back and do the whole thing. I hadn't read any of it yet.
Oh, my bad, my bad, my bad. I was just scrolling quickly. I thought I saw it on your list. Um, okay. Next up is Captain America number 28, written by Ta-Nehisi Coates, art by Leonard Kirk, colors by Matt Miller, and letters by VC's Joe Caramagna. So if you didn't know by now, Ta-Nehisi Coates is wrapping up his scripts on all of his Marvel Comics work because he's going to be working on movie scripts for DC Warner Brothers. So this is 2 issues away. I believe his run ends with Captain America number 30.
Yep.
And thanks. And so Coates is still deep in some of Captain America's history, but with his own twist, and definitely bringing in lots of uh, real world, current events allegories, and definitely relating some of the stuff that we have seen in previous Cap stories and updating it so that we will see how that plays out in today's reality, or at least in today's allegorical reality in Marvel Comics. So there is a lot to this. The Red Skull is involved in this. His daughter Sin is involved in this, and of course Alexa Lukin, who's always been around since the beginning of this 30-issue run with the introduction of the Power Elite. So ultimately, what the Skull is trying to do is far more insidious than the latest uh, take over the world plot. And it is striking at the heart of the idea of Captain America. And that is where this story seems to be headed. And it's actually a pretty it's a pretty good look into the idea of Captain America from this perspective, from the idea of trying to take out Cap in a much different way than what the Red Skull would have traditionally done. Next up is King in Black, Return of the Valkyries number 4. And this is written by Jason Aaron with Torun Thorun Grunbeck, with art again by Nina Vakueva. This is, like as I said before, this is her second book out this week, with colors by Tamara Bonvillain and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. Did you read this book?
Nope.
Did not. Okay. Well, I know that Roddykat is doing his level best to stay away from all things King in Black as hard as he can. Sometimes it's more difficult than others. In this case, this is a much more direct tie into the events that are happening in King in Black. The Valkyries are tasked with doing their part to weaken Null um, by, spoiler alert, cutting off his connection to the headless celestial, the dead celestial whose head became nowhere. And there's lots of stuff going on that is in fact related to what's going on in King in Black. It's tangential, but definitely related. And ultimately, the Valkyries succeed at their mission. And at the end of this, we are led into a tease to the next Valkyrie series, which is called The Mighty Valkyries. And this is on sale April 21st, so it's not far away. It is not far away. So as I mentioned earlier, I think we were we were on the air, but if not, this is again one of those, this Return of the Valkyries is one of several King in Black one shots and or miniseries that seem to pick up directly from series that ended just prior to King in Black. And I mentioned Gwenom versus Carnage being one of them, where Sean Maguire wrote that miniseries. So it essentially picks up with just a tie-in to King in Black. It picks up some of the story threads in Ghost Spider, same as in this Return of the Valkyrie story, which takes up several threads that were in the Valkyrie series that ended just before King in Black. So that is, something that I wish I had thought harder about, and maybe I would have pulled some of these stories to keep up the previous storyline, as pulled them in my physical pull list. And last but not least is U.S. Agent number 4. This is written by Priest, as in Christopher Priest, with pencils by George Giante, inks by Carl Story, colors by Matt Milla, and letters by VC's Joe Sabino. So I'm not going to spoil this too hard because Roddykat, I believe, is going to at least flip through this.
Yep.
So ultimately, in this issue, we get the plot definitely moving forward with John Walker's family relations becoming gigantic pains in his butt, which was revealed in the previous issue. Are you up to date other than this issue?
I know his sister is the one that's doing some things in there. I know enough about that part. Yeah.
Right. So that's essentially it. So that's so now that that's clear for Roddykat, we do get some flashbacks here of John Walker being more progressive than we've ever thought he might be. But at the same time, it's still the John Walker that we've all kind of learned to hate. It's still Priest. He's still writing a really well put together story. There is the revelation of another U.S. agent being in play because John Walker has been decommissioned as U.S. agent during the just prior to the events of this miniseries, and so there is another player on the board, and his motivations are suspect, of course. And ultimately, we get more information as to what that character might want and might be up to. And finally, at the end of this issue, we get a really weird cliffhanger page. It's really out of nowhere. I kind of chuckled when I saw it because Gianti does a good job of drawing it, and it came out of nowhere for me when I read it. So I credit Priest with really surprising me with really out of left field. And shout out to opening day for Major League Baseball today. Of course, the Nats had to catch a case of COVID, so the Mets weren't able to get. Let's go Mets! Weren't able to get their opening day game in because of the Nats having a positive test. So, um, but in all seriousness, getting back to this, this was definitely out of left field. This cliffhanger page, and when Roddykat gets around to reading it, he will see what I mean. And that's it for me.
Yes, and look forward to more distractions from Agent 70 as baseball season starts up in earnest. Um, so,
Uh, what are you gonna do? I had baseball and basketball. I was monitoring this show. Sorry, folks.
let's see.
Sorry, I said I meant to add hockey.
Oh, hockey still. Well, yeah, okay, great.
Hockey still going on.
Well, all right then. That being the case, let's see. For me, we start off with the next Batman, Second Son, #6, which is written by John Ridley, art by Travel Foreman, colors by Rex Locus, and letters by Darren Bennett. So, at the end of last issue, and this is the digital first book, if I haven't said that before, and I know I have, so which means it's coming out digitally first, and then they're going to reprint it physically at some point soon. So yeah, Luke in his Batwing gear kind of goes after Ratcatcher because Ratcatcher was apparently the one that put his sister in not only in the hospital, but is the one, I guess, potentially the one called for her to relapse. And this was stuff that came out of his book from a while back. So, this was kind of new to me. But he catches up to Ratcatcher, and this is all during the course of the starting of Future State, which means that the police are after anyone in a mask. So the GCPD are find out that Ratcatcher's out and about, and they also go after Ratcatcher and and find out Batwing. But they also kind of sort of end up helping him take him down because he was kind of having a little trouble. With Ratcatcher, who apparently had turned a little bit of Pied Piper in this instance. But like I said, that happens. Luke gets away, but seemingly fails to get what he needs because he was trying to find some information on how to get his sister, who's, like I said, back in the hospital again, well. And it seems like the Ratcatcher thing is going to come back because it looks like somebody may or not have taken up the mask. And at the end of this issue, because of Luke failing to do what he was sent after Ratcatcher to do, it seemed like we might be starting to see the turning point in where Jace will end up getting to become a part of the Bat family, but we don't necessarily get that. We do get a little bit with Jason here because this is actually this was kind of a more Luke focused issue, but we do see Jace kind of come in on a few cases, including at the end of the issue. Next up, Avengers: Curse of the Man Thing #1. This is the first of I don't know how many of these. Not necessarily one shots because apparently this is going to be continued in another Curse of the Man thing. And one shot is probably going to be like 3 of them more than likely. But it is written by Steve Orlando, art by Francesco Mobili, color artist Guru EFX, and letters by VC's Clayton Cowles. So without spoiling it and it's not a big spoiler, but I'm just gonna not say too much of it, but Agent 70 will get it when I mention this. There is a crossover villain or set of villains from the X books that shows up at the beginning of this. And the seemingly main villain is related to one of these villains. So, and I think this is the introduction of this main villain for this mini series also, or this mini event. I don't know what to call it when they do these things, but so Harrower is the person that we're talking about that is kind of the villain in this one, and ends up using Man Thing for her intent for the world. Let's just say that. And of course, the Avengers get called in, and whoever knows fear burns at the touch of Man Thing, which is a big part of a thing that happens here. But again, like I said, the Avengers get involved. One of them actually gets to talk to the person behind Man Thing, and we kind of find out that there is a connection between them two, which we kind of already knew, but we also get a revelation in between that at the end of this issue. Because if you know anything about the history of Man Thing, you know that the person behind Man Thing was a scientist in his own right, doing trying to recreate something that has to do with one of the characters. And if that's not a big lead, I don't know what to tell you. So that's that. And yeah, like I said, it's an all right first issue of what it is. It pretty much starts it off, but it's going to get continued in Spider-Man Curse of the Man Thing #1, which is going to come at some point. But it also ends up on that Revelations that I just talked about. Transformers #28, written by Brian Buckley, art by Anna Malkova, colors by David Garcia Cruz, letters and design by Jake M. Wood. So for some strange reason, Cyclonus is going after Six Shot because I guess Anna, who is the leader of the Decepticons Guard at this point. There's some things going on in this book, and it comes out monthly, so it's kind of hard to remember what happens last month or not. But yeah, Megatron is making a push and using media to kind of further his cause in a way. And also a lot of action is going on because there's like a jailbreak, and Bumblebee gets recruited, presumably for the Decepticons. I'm not even sure what's going on, but there's a breakout, and some folks looking for some bots looking for new recruits for, like, I believe Megatron's cause. And there are some allegiances that still have yet to be written in stone as of this time, because this is before the events of this is pretty much the start of the Great War, I guess, so you could say, and the start of what we know the Transformers history to be. Which is also kind of weird because there's a lot of bots that show up here that don't show up in G1. But this pretty much establishing that, like, these are around, including some that don't show up until the movie. As I mentioned, Cyclonus, because who wasn't Cyclonus until the movie. So there's some weird things there. This is a weird kind of reboot of Transformers fiction that's been going on, but it's so far still actually been pretty good. And last but not least, we have RWBY in the Justice League crossover. That's RWBY, in Justice League #1, written by Marguerite Bennett, art by Aneki, I guess. I'm not sure which way that goes, but colors by Hi-Fi, and letters by Gabriella Downey. The only thing I can say about this, so 4 issues have been released this week digitally, and I assume there's going to be a print version of this crossover at some point going forward. But if you know anything about the story of RWBY, it's about these 4, I want to call them magical girls, but they're kind of huntresses with weapons. I've not seen too much of the anime, or I guess I don't know if this is not even kind of an anime because it's done by Rooster Teeth. So this is RWBY is a Rooster Teeth creation, and you know them from Red vs. Blue and XYZ, all that kind of good other stuff. But this is a creation from them that is being crossed over into the Justice League. But all we see here are the Trinity of the Justice League, or at least in the skimming of the first issue and the 4th issue that I read, it's the Trinity of the Justice League, pretty much being written into the world of RWBY. So they don't like crossover and it's like, hey, there's a time gap or some portal or anything. Like, no, they're already in the world. So we see Wonder Woman, Batman, or excuse me, we see Bruce Wayne with bat ears, and Superman, um, as actually kind of almost like a Connor Kent looking allegory, but their powers kind of get translated over into the world of RWBY and their weaponry and all that kind of stuff. So Bruce still doesn't have any powers, but he does have the big scythe or whatever, just like the girls of RWBY. Um, and this pretty much, the first issue definitely pretty much sets that whole up. And I know skimming the fourth issue by mistake, they end up being students at the same academy that the RWBY girls are attending. Like I said, I hadn't really read the couple of issues in between, but if you are interested in anything I just said, and if you like these crossovers, you can go check this out for yourself. And that, folks, is it for me.
You didn't get a chance to look at the other history of the DC Universe number 3?
No, I didn't, but I do know Katana's on the cover, and I didn't get a chance to skim through it.
Just started to flip through it this afternoon. Didn't really have a chance to go through it carefully, but I was intrigued that they use Katana as the point of view for the third issue.
Right, so I definitely will be checking that out. And also, there's a couple of books I didn't get a chance to get through, like X-Men Legends, as we talked to before and whatnot. But yeah, those two books I definitely want to check out. There's also that Marvel action Captain Marvel with Spider-Gwen that I kind of want to check out also, but I didn't get a chance to do that.
The IDW book?
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So that being the case, it's Clicks of the Week.
Clicks of the Week!
And we got one from one of our absentee co-hosts here. Tim's pick is X-Men 19.
Very cool.
Yeah, he didn't say anything. He didn't give any notes on it, but yeah, he best with that. But yeah, well, definitely was a good issue. So I can dig that. Let's see. As for myself, or unless, well, I don't know mine. Let's kind of going through the motions here. Okay.
I am still coming up with mine. I definitely have some good candidates, though. I definitely liked the first issue of Silk, this latest series. I did like that Beta Ray Bill book. I did like X-Men number 19. So those are essentially my 3 candidates. So I've just got to figure out who I'm going to go with.
Did you mention Black Cat?
No, actually. Because it was so focused on Queen Cat.
Queen Cat, yeah.
I mean, it's still a good book because it's kind of like a recap of what has been going on leading up to this heist against Odessa Drake.
Right.
So, but from a very different perspective, from an outsider's perspective, from someone who's surveilling the Black Cat and her crew.
Right.
So that's definitely fun, but it didn't quite rise to where Silk, Beta Ray Bill, really kind of sit for me this week. And X-Men number 19.
I can dig it.
I am gonna go with. I'm gonna go with Silk number 1. But Beta Ray Bill is a really good book, and I definitely recommend that for anyone who's a fan of Beta Ray Bill. I go back. I'm definitely an OG, going way back to when he first came out in Thor, and trying to figure out who is this horse-looking face guy carrying Mjolnir, right?
Yeah, there was also a lot of that going on in this. A lot of horse face jokes going on from somebody.
Yep, from Fin Fang Foom. The nullified Fin Fang Foom.
Yep. I agree with everything you just said about both Beta Ray Bill and Silk, and and X-Men and Silk. I think I actually. Yeah, I think I'm actually going with you on that one on Silk. I enjoyed that a lot. And I like Silk. Silk is a great character.
Part of me probably just feels too bad for Bill. I just kind of feel bad for him.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh, that's so tough, man.
but it's kind of one of the things that I'm fairly sure someone has thought of in the past. Because
But
this
never
is
series to talk about it.
exactly because I mean the whole being like, yeah, I'm all being second to you, being second to somebody. That's a thing that has come up not just in comics, but in in art, in TV and movies also. So that's not a new concept, but the way it's done here, with this character who is a fan favorite, is actually pretty striking. So we'll just have to see where that goes from here. That being said, those are our clicks of the week. We are going to get into the news section, but first, an ad read.
Our first ad read of the night is for Blue Apron's meal delivery service. Blue Apron, fresh ingredients and incredible recipes delivered weekly to your door. Skip the grocery store and make incredible meals at home with Blue Apron. Always shipped free right to your home. And now the listeners of the Comic Book Chronicles can get $30 off your first Blue Apron order. So place your first order with $30 off. And to help keep our show free for you, go to our network website at cspn.us. That's cspn.us. Then click on the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down to the Blue Apron link and sign up for your first order. Blue Apron through cspn.us. Do it today. Now we get into the news.
I know we said that this was going to be the treasure edition that we did this week was the last word in that cut. But I've also said on social media that there was going to be some news coming out of this stuff. So here we are, folks. Cinematic news. Zack Snyder's Justice League references the director's favorite film. That film is Excalibur. So apparently in that film, another one character says a line that is said during the course of the Snyder cut, and apparently that was a reference to Excalibur. I did not know. Next up.
Goodness gracious. Although Godzilla vs. Kong had not released at the time that this article was written, certain Snyderverse fans are leaving one-star reviews on the Godzilla vs. Kong IMDb page as a form of protest against Warner Brothers. Now, talk about your misdirected anger.
Stupid, but it's also the same stupidity that got the Snyder cut in the first place. So take it
right. Review bombing and asking viewers to boycott it because it's a Warner Brothers distributed film, even though it's a Legendary Pictures licensed property from Toho. So
like it doesn't make sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. And apparently there's a hashtag going around to restore the Snyderverse, and the less about that. We don't need that. We don't need that. I feel like we said that during the course of the Treasure Edition, but yeah, no. Warner Media's hashtag Stop Agent Hate tweets are being flooded by calls to restore the Snyder Cut. Again, more stupidity. So tweets by Warner Media in support of the hashtag Stop Agent Hate movement are being flooded by Justice League fans, which I'm not sure how they know this, but calling to hashtag Restore the Snyder Cut. Snyderverse.
Yeah, they're responding to tweets by Warner Media, and
right.
Come on, people.
Like, yeah, this is so stupid. Now, so I would probably say this, and this is not trying to give them any kind of, any kind of leverage or anything, but there are people out there that are just trolls, and it might seem like it could be these people, but it might actually not be the people they're talking about. But it also very well could be. So I'm not even sitting here trying to say that it very well couldn't be, because they're just saying the internet brings out a bunch of stupid ass people. Anyway, so Warner Media, the company behind Zack Snyder's, Warner Media is pretty much Warner Brothers. Come on, we know this. Has posted several tweets promoting a Stop Agent Hate fundraiser, encouraging followers to donate to either Asian American Chamber of Commerce or Asian American Advancing Justice. Many of the replies to these tweets are being flooded with Justice League with Justice League fans demanding Warner Media instead restore the Snyderverse. Again, stupidity. And you can see the tweets in the article here, and it is so sad that we're at a state that this is the thing that continues to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, both, well, one, Asian hate should not be a thing to happen. Also, nor not black people hate, not no Indian people of color hate or anything like that. But also people doing shit like this, you know, when you could just be good humans. But I know that's not a thing anymore. Next up, though.
This is me. So the DC Extended Universe's Batgirl was set to play a big role in Ben Affleck's scrap version of the Batman, according to Deathstroke actor Joe Manganiello. There was a big, huge showdown, I think, between Batgirl. Batgirl jumps in to try to help Bruce because Deathstroke is so fast they can anticipate Bruce's movements. Manganiello told the Comic Book Nation podcast, and there was this huge fight in Gotham City where Batman is like completely afraid because he realized he's met someone who can take him, and then that leads to this big climactic battle through the streets of Gotham City. At the end, it was like a real like psychological thriller where Deathstroke was kind of like a horror movie villain, like a shark, kind of like Jaws. Okay, Joe Manganiello.
Yes, but we'll never get that movie, so it doesn't matter.
Right, and it still bothers me that they would choose Dark Knight Batman to go up against Deathstroke. Like, really?
Still on that, huh? Folks,
yes,
definitely check out.
That's all Snyder wants to do.
Definitely, folks, check out the Treasure Edition again. That is in the feed prior to this episode, both in video and audio form. The Suicide Squad trailer shows off its ridiculous cast of villains and Starro. It says here kaiju, and I know, you know, Godzilla versus Kong is a thing now, and yes, it is.
I was about to say, in the wake of Pacific Rim,
that also
kind of has an idea of what a kaiju is, but there's this very specific creature that we are referring to here.
Exactly, it's freaking Starro, folks. This, like, yeah, I guess Starro in some manner could be considered a kaiju, but no. So, yeah, it appears that the Suicide Squad are gonna go up against Starro.
Okay, I just saw an April Fool's joke that's pretty funny.
Okay, what's that?
I'm gonna it's from comicbook.com. Breaking: Star Trek 4 will bring in reboot Picard, played by Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson.
Okay. You know what? Somebody's still trying out there. I appreciate that one.
I like that one. That's a good one.
Yeah, like I said, if folks didn't know, we are recording this on April 1st, which is April Fool's Day, and happy April Fool's Day. And hopefully you are not being actually fooled by some of the news that has come out between yesterday and today, or yesterday as of the 31st of March and today the 1st. And I gotta be honest, it kind of makes it kind of hard to look for news around this time. Even the stuff that comes out on the 31st, you know, because like I said, a lot of places have started in the last few years thought up April Fool stuff a day early, and it's kind of annoying. But anyway, so yeah, did you watch this? So did you watch this trailer? Did you not?
Did watch this trailer.
What'd you think?
It's did I say this? I might have said this when we were doing the Treasury Edition. It's a Suicide Guardians Squad of the Galaxy.
Yeah. You did say that then, yeah.
There's definitely the James Gunn touch in this trailer.
Yep, very much so. And I know I've talked about some people. It's like people were asking us, "Is this a reboot? Is this a whole new thing?" I'm like, "Why is this the thing? That's the thing." I'm like, "Because James Gunn didn't do the first one, right. So that's why." So yeah, and here we are. Next up, though, on that note, Sylvester Stallone is confirmed to be playing King Shark in the Suicide Squad. So if you watched the trailer and you saw King Shark talking, and you notice that the shark is not a hammerhead, by the way, unlike comic versions of King Shark, you know who the voice is behind that.
Yo.
Pretty much. And I pretty much just took the next article also because yeah, James.
Yeah, I was about to say it's right. You know, you could have left it for me, or you could have just kept going with it.
No, yeah, I keep going. I got this one. And yeah, like I just said, James Gunn. You know, I mean, the King Shark is not a hammerhead, and James Gunn pretty much explains why King Shark isn't a hammerhead on Twitter. And I saw the post. I mean, I saw his post on this when it happened. So I was like, you know what? Yeah, sure, why not? That kind of makes sense, I guess. And I couldn't remember how King Shark was. No, that wasn't King Shark. That was Killer Croc. Never mind. That other movie was whatever it was. Next up though. Oh, what the hell?
I was about to say I didn't do that.
No, that was a auto playing video. You know I hate them.
Got it.
Next up.
So I got this one. Black Adam release date has been confirmed. Warner Brothers announced that the movie will hit cinemas on July 29th, 2022. No further information was released regarding the long gestating Dwayne Johnson project. The Warner Brothers teased that the hierarchy of power in the DC universe is about to change. The announcement also highlights the fact that fans should expect Black Adam only in theaters, which would seem to indicate Warner Brothers does intend to eventually pull the pin on its simultaneous HBO Max releases and return to a traditional cinema-only approach. Let's hope that they can.
Right.
People,
yeah,
keep wearing masks. Keep wearing masks.
Yes.
Social distancing. Wash your hands. All that good stuff. Please keep it
Oh my
up.
goodness! I saw this video, and I can't help but think it's true. And where there was a party, and there was pretty much a vaccination, a post-vaccination party in California. So there was a lot of people gathered together, presumably after they got vaccinated and to go party. Like, stupidity still reigns supreme here, folks.
Not yet, people. Not yet.
Yeah. So, because guess what? You get vaccinated, there's still a chance of you still getting COVID. So, just because your chances are lessened greatly doesn't mean you still can't. Masses. Anyway, like Agent 7 said, do all that stuff. Next up, though, the Flash cast Jordan Fisher as Bart Allen in season 7. So, the fastest teenager alive is coming to The Flash. The CW has announced that Jordan Fisher has been cast as Bart Allen, aka the hero Impulse, in a reoccurring guest star role on the show. The fan favorite character will make his debut to coincide with Flash's special 150th episode this season. Fisher is a multi-hyphenated entertainer best known for his role, I'm going to assume, because they didn't put that in here, as John Ambrose McLaren on Netflix's To All the Boys. P.S. I Love You. Oh, I Still Love You, rather. As well as the title role as Broadway's Dear Evan Hansen, where he played the first biracial actor to portray the character. He's done some other stuff also. And they describe him here as, this article describes him here as the future son of Barry and Iris. And I'm saying, like, isn't this supposed to be his grandson?
Yeah, I think they changed it.
Yeah. And I feel like I remember earlier seasons of The Flash, there was like a daughter. So I don't and as opposed to a boy. But anyway, here you go, folks. That's the thing that's happening on The Flash this season. Next.
It was my understanding that they changed it. I saw that news.
Right.
Ava DuVernay's superhero DC drama Naomi is rounding out its cast. In his return to the CW, former Seventh Heaven star Barry Watson is set as a series regular, along with Muzam Makar, The Fix, Mary Charles Jones, Kevin Can Wait, Aidan Gemi from Finding Neverland, Daniel Puig, The System, and Will Myers from Bad Education. Okay.
Cool. 7. Let's see. Next up, Young Justice creator provides an update on season 4. Young Justice Phantoms has more or less completed its pre-production phase, according to executive producer showrunner Greg Weisman. When a fan asked for updates on Young Justice Phantoms via Twitter, Weisman had a brief but informative answer. 9 episodes in the can, 5 more in post. 12 are being animated overseas. Pre-production is virtually done, he wrote. So that's good news. So it looks like 24 episodes have been written in total, and a large number of those episodes have been completed. Voice work. Let's see. Doesn't have a date for when the 4th season is going to happen, but good to see that it's still happening. Next up.
Alrighty, Invisible. Amazon releases first 3 episodes early. So yeah, I watched these. Amazon dropped a special surprise for Invincible fans. I'm not an Invincible fan, but I was happy to see these 3 episodes drop.
I also watched.
What's that?
I also watched.
There we go. The streaming service released the first 3 episodes of the animated series several hours early before its official Friday, March 26th premiere date. The episode titles are It's About Time, Here Goes Nothing, and Who You Calling Ugly? So very quickly, without spoiling too much, what did you think and how familiar were you with Invincible before jumping into this? Because I know Tim Dog 98 is a fan of this.
He very much was. Yeah, matter of fact, I think he was reading Invincible at the early on.
Yeah, like while the series was still running.
Right. So, go ahead. Sorry.
No. Go ahead. That's all I was going to say is that he was actively reading it while it was still in print.
And most of my knowledge kind of comes from him talking about that, and a couple of episodes that a couple of issues that I think I read here and there just to kind of spur because of scientific curiosity, I guess. So
education purposes, right?
Basically, yeah. Because that has always been a curious book, and they basically have done some things differently from the superhero genre, and apparently the show does the same thing or similar things. So I don't know how closely to the comic that this is hitting, but I know apparently there are some things. There are a couple of things here and there that do. But I enjoyed it for the most part, and I know a lot of people are like, "Yeah, it's incredible," and this and that, and being very hyper about it, and it is pretty good because you see that you first watch the first episode like really quickly. If you don't know anything about the character, it starts off one way until you get to the end of the episode. Right. Which, by the way, there are like 45 minutes.
45, almost 50 minutes, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So and there is a swerve at the end, yes. And what's my understanding is that the swerve at the end took the comic itself in terms of print time about 6 or 7 issues to get. So it's like at the end of the first big story arc where this twist takes place. And so all of that is condensed into the first episode. And, Kirkman and the artist on this book also were instrumental, or at least the designer, the co-creator. I don't know if it was the permanent artist, but
I would say all of them. Yeah, they're all getting credited because if you see the title, the title image, they're all getting credited. Which, by the way, which speaking of, that's I kind of like, but it's also kind of jarring the way they do the title sequencing, because it's kind of like if you ever watched a show called Good Eats, the Out Brown will come in and start talking for a little bit, and then he kind of just leads out to where he just mentions the he goes to like he's going to mention the title of the show, but then it just cuts to the title to the title treatment, and that's what this show's kind of do, just rather abruptly.
Gotcha.
And it's kind of amusing.
Yeah, I listened to a Kirkman interview. I believe it was on the Fat Man Beyond podcast, and Kirkman basically said he had to actually kind of rewrite some of the stuff that he did to condense it for TV, to make it more to bring it up to date with the way things are written now, because he wrote that in the early 2000s, and things have come a long way since then, for good and ill,
language and whatnot,
euphemisms and whatnot, and the art as well had to be redesigned so that it would work better in animation. The designs of the characters had to be redesigned. So the original co-creator of the book, who co-created it with Kirkman, had to go in and redesign some of the character costume designs and designs period for animation so that they would be easier for the animators to deal with. So it's very, very much it may not be faithful in the truest sense of the word, but because of all the creators who were involved are the original creators on the book, it is as true as it can be, with some changes having to be made because of the change in media. So
Right. So it's Robert Kirkman, Corey Walker, and I believe Ryan Otley definitely also is seen on the title treatment of the show. And I know he's I believe Otley is the longstanding or was a longstanding artist on the book, if I'm not mistaken.
right, I
So
think it was the other gentleman that you were referring to as the
Corey Walker.
designer.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, but like if you haven't had and by the way, on that note, as what I alluded to earlier, just like Falcon and Winter Soldier, episodes are coming out on Fridays, so we are also on the crux of another episode of Invincible coming in a few short hours. But yeah, like I said, overall I'm enjoying it. It is definitely, I don't know if I would say if it's kid friendly or not. Because it does get a little graphic with the violence, for certainly. You kind of catch that early on, but it's still good. Like, you know,
It's not for kids. Please
yeah.
don't show this to kids.
Some people will. I mean, like we grew up on stuff like this, and we're all right. No,
You know,
I know, right? But yeah, like I said, I enjoyed what I saw. The long story short of it, so I look forward to seeing the next episode coming soon. And speaking of, Invincible reveals the drawback to its Hulk's powers. So on the last on episode 3 of the show, there is a little girl that has like Hulk-like powers, and not without going through into it, they pretty much show a drawback, which is mentioned during the course of the show, of having that type of power. I don't know if it's a drawback or it's just a side effect of it. It's more of a side effect of having it because of the apparently the way this character got it. So I don't know. So this article is kind of drawing a parallel here. That's I don't know if it rings totally true.
yeah, I don't know if that's completely accurate.
Yeah, but that's what this.
Today, as Roddykat mentioned, as you mentioned, it's definitely a bad side effect, a bad drawback of this particular form of Hulk style powers.
Right. So I can't necessarily agree with this article, but it is what it is. Next up, though.
Next up, some exciting filming updates have now been revealed regarding two of Marvel's biggest sequels, Captain Marvel 2 and Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, with both projects due to begin production on May 31st. With the likes of Disney Plus series as WandaVision and The Falcon and the Winter Soldier lighting up small screens everywhere, Marvel fans cannot wait for the big screen MCU adventure to continue. And it sounds like things are finally going to get back on track. That's pretty cool.
Right.
Quantum is going to film in London and Atlanta, and filming is expected to last until September 24th. Captain Marvel 2, meanwhile, will film in London and LA and does not currently have an end filming date. Okay.
And I'm probably going to forget this will come to time, but I'm just going to go ahead and say it here. It's time for Quantumania. Next up,
and we're to the mania.
Gotta workshop the rest of it, but yeah, we got it. Huh?
I said, of course.
Yeah. Actor Dallas Liu is going from the comedy of Hulu's Pin 15. You know what that sounds, what that stands for, folks, if you watch the show, or if you don't, to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He is set to appear in the Destin Daniel Cretton's directed Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, alongside Simu Liu, Aquafina, Tony Leung, Michelle Yeoh, and Ronnie Chang. Kevin Feige is producing the film. We already know this. We already know everybody behind that part. We don't know who this person is playing, but we do know Shang-Chi is coming out on September 3rd. Next.
Spider-Man 3, officially titled Spider-Man No Way Home, has wrapped filming, believe it or not. And the new picture, apparently from the set, has hit the internet. Second unit director and stunt coordinator George Cottle took to Instagram to confirm the movie had finished filming, complete with a whiteboard full of possible names for the threequel seen in the title announcement video. So this is not to exclude the definite reshoots that end up happening once film stop filming or end filming, but primary filming is wrapped.
Yeah. So yeah, and I believe this is the same whiteboard that they showed in that one the one teaser for the title.
I believe so.
So cool. Let's see. Falcon and Winter Soldier leak may signal a major twist, and this is spoilers for the episode that we already talked about earlier, and it basically has something to do with Zemo. And the article's kind of going into what it thinks that that leak might go into, but we won't. Next.
Alrighty. Iron Man has officially been recast in animation. During Hulu and Marvel's MODOK fan Q&A for WonderCon at Home 2021, it was revealed that John Hamm, the actor, will voice Iron Man Tony Stark in the upcoming adult animated series. Marvel's MODOK co-creators Jordan Blum and Patton Oswalt were joined by cast members and other special guest stars, including Hamm, as they answered various fan questions about the upcoming Hulu series. So no more Adrian Pastor.
So I guess MODOK is going ham.
Oh no!
I'll be here all week. I know this is also something I saw on Twitter, and I think it was either Jordan Bloom or Patton Oswalt's tweet about this. So when that happened, so that's cool. Next up, though, Obi-Wan Kenobi cast revealed. Please stop. Yeah. Cast revealed, and it's going to be starting shooting in April. So yeah, we got the cast. If you're watching the video, you can see the picture with all of the cast that we know of so far, including Ewan McGregor, Hayden Christensen, Moses Ingram, Joel Edgerton, Bonnie Prius, Kamal Nanjiani, Indira Varma, Rupert Friend, O'Shea Jackson Jr., Sun Kang. That's right, folks. Han is in this Mizafruka.
Han lives.
Yes, and Han lives to be in a galaxy far, far away. So, Simone Kessel and Benny Safdie. And it says here that the show will take place 10 years after Revenge of the Sith. So it is curious as to the Hayden Christensen part of this. We're assuming he's going to be flashbacks as Anakin and also as Darth Vader, I guess, and something. I don't know. We don't know.
We don't know.
So it follows, according to this article, it says it follows the events of Anakin falling further to the dark side and becoming a Sith Lord Darth Vader. And no further the details on the plot. So yeah. And again, like I said, it looks like they're going to be start shooting in April. Finally. So next up,
Disney Plus has released the first trailer for Star Wars: The Bad Batch. The trailer, spoiler alert for anyone who hasn't watched it yet. Have you watched it?
no.
Okay, I won't go too far into it then, but we do get some guest stars that we're familiar with, and in addition to the Bad Batch.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I'm sure one of them has been already. If it's one of those ones that are we knew was going to get cast on the show, also according to this article. So
right. Here's another mild spoiler: lies, deception.
Nice. Alrighty. Next up.
I have thought long and hard about getting that sound clip and putting that onto our soundboard. Shout out to Jason Concepcion Network, formerly of Binge Mode, now at Crooked Media, who originated that particular impression of Forrest Whitaker playing a character.
Yes, indeed. Whose sister was done way wrong, but we're not gonna get into that because
way dirty.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyway, don't get me started on that. New Transformers movie is in the works. A new Transformers movie is in development, according to the Hollywood Reporter. Director Angel Manuel Soto and writer Marco Ramirez have been hired to work on the film. Hollywood Reporter states that this film will be separate from the main universe of Transformers movies featured in Michael Bay's 5 films and the spin-off Bumblebee. So I guess it'll be like Bumblebee then, in a way. Further details about the project are currently unknown. I believe Soto is also doing that Blue Beetle movie, which is also forthcoming. So there you go. Next.
As his new film Godzilla vs. Kong opened Wednesday in theaters and on HBO Max, news came out that director Adam Wingard is now set to direct Thundercats. That is a big scale feature based on an animated TV series that ran from 85 to 89 by Rankin Bass and several other iterations, comic books, and merchandise. The project has been developed by Ryback's Dan Lin and Vertigo's Roy Lee, who produced Wingard directed Death Note. I guess that's the live adaptation.
Yeah.
My understanding, this is going to be, Wingard will rewrite a script with Simon Barrett and will turn all this into a hybrid of CGI and animation. The series focuses on a group of cat-like humanoid aliens who live on the dying planet Thundera. The Thundercats are forced to flee their homeland. They're on the they're on the move. Thundercats are loose.
Yes.
I almost flipped loose and move.
But you caught it. That's all that matters. So yeah, this is another long languishing project, just like Mask. That heck, I think I dare say almost 2 decades have almost passed. They've been trying to do this. They've been trying to do a Thundercats live action movie, and there's treatments and stuff and fan fixations of things that are already out there. So hey, if this happens, it happens. That's all I'm saying at this point. Mortal Kombat movie delayed one. Huh?
I just said Thundercats are loose.
Yeah, or will be. Mortal Kombat movie delayed.
I'm sorry.
That's fine. Mortal Kombat movie delayed by 1 week. So yeah, the Mortal Kombat reboot is now coming out on April 23rd. And I'm gonna go ahead and take this next one actually.
Wait. Did you get the whatchamacallit? Did you get the theory behind this?
No. Let's see. It says movie's been pushed back multiple times because of the pandemic.
No, the theory for pushing it a week.
No, I don't.
So the theory is this is what happens to read online, and the math works.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who joined HBO Max for the free 1 month trial for the Snyderverse, if Mortal Kombat came out on the day it was supposed to come out, it would have been included in that free month.
Right.
But by pushing it a week, they push it outside of that 30th day.
Okay. Switch. Okay, that could go both ways, because realistically, even if it was like the last day is on, and yes, there would be definitely a number of people who would definitely be on it that last day. I get that. I don't know, but would there be enough of people to let that slide? But I also get the reasoning. I mean, if that is the case, that makes some sense. Why give people two big movies, right?
Right.
So if that is the case, then that's weird. That is weird. It's not weird. It's actually not weird. It's not weird, but it's actually pretty sneaky and makes a whole lot of sense for business wise.
That's exactly what we're getting at.
Yeah, business wise, and yeah, that would sound like a total thing they would do. But I'm gonna take this next one and say that here's everything that's coming to HBO Max in April 2021. Speaking of, but the stuff that is germane to this here podcast would be the aforementioned Mortal Kombat. I don't know what the Nevers is, but Space Jam. And for some strange reason, well, it's not strange reason, but because we know HBO gets usually ends up getting movies after they originally come out of the movie theater. But the New Mutants is going to is going to be on HBO Max. And I know there's been people who was like, yeah, it's kind of crazy that New Mutants, owned by Disney at this point, is coming to HBO first and not Disney Plus. But again, like I said, the reasoning if there is a reasoning for it, it kind of makes sense because like if we were under normal circumstances, it would go from the movie theaters to HBO in the first place. You know, and I don't know if that was a deal that was set in place before the merger or whatever. Because for Newman's, who even knows? I don't even know the justification of this, but regardless, it is a thing. And also, Ghost Rider's coming to which I could have sworn it was there, but I think it was on Netflix. The Ghost Rider is also coming to HBO this month, and that is the Cage version, which because I don't think well, that's the first one of the Cage version because I think there was two of them. There was something else also in this list that I think about it, or was in this list. Space Jam, I said that. Black Dynamite didn't say that. Caddyshack, that none of that matters. But Green Lantern also is going to the 2011 Green Lantern movie is going to be on the service in April.
They're finally going to admit to it. That's what it is.
Oddly enough, now that I think about it, today's April 1st, so which means it's on there today, along with some other stuff. So if that's not perfect, I don't know what is. Oh, Ghost Rider also is today as of this recording.
I can say that I have never watched any of the Nick Cage Ghost Rider movies, although I did unfortunately go with a friend as a group of his friends to go see the Green Lantern movie in the theater. And one of his friends, one of my buddy's friends, could not successfully defend the movie to the rest of us.
There's no way you can.
Tried, and I probably pulled some lawyer tricks on him, but I was eviscerating him left and right, and like I just wouldn't let it drop because he wouldn't let it drop. I was just like, dude, this is just a bad movie.
Right. And I know, and there are DC fans out there who not only will defend, and I don't know why I'm still following a couple of them, but that's neither here nor there. Like, will defend DC's bad movies like to the death. I'm saying like you're not getting paid for this, one, and two, these movies are not as good as you think they are, including up until the Snyder cut.
Right.
Even
and including.
Yes, exactly. But the Warriors also is gonna show is on here today, and Space Jam. I think I already mentioned that. But so
the Warriors come out and play.
Exactly, which I wouldn't mind rewatching that. So yeah, so stuff's starting to come out there because it is April 1st. And also the Police Academy movies, which has nothing to do with this show, but you know, hey, some of those movies are good. And I guess the Mask of Zorro probably would be one because technically there have been Zorro comic books. Anyway, next up,
Netflix announced at Tokyo's Anime Japan 2021 Expo that it will launch 40 new anime titles in 2021, Bloomberg reported, following the success of its Blood of Zeus series last year. Okay.
Yeah. my friend Cammy, who's in the chat, just tripped me out with this emote that she put. And hey, everybody who's in the chats watching live. So yeah, we got Crunchyroll, who is also revealing 25 new anime titles on its spring slate, including 5th season of My Hero Academia, which some people can't believe is the case. And I don't know if there's anything. See, there's some stuff. Slime Diaries, yeah. I'm looking for something in particular, which I forgot to look at. But there's a bunch of new stuff. If you're an anime fan, you know there's probably something in here for you. I am scrolling through this. If you are watching the video, it's another Card Fight Vanguard. I've still never seen that show, but shout out to Clamp. Are we really not going to get a Fire Force Boruto, which is the Naruto thing? Some more Digimon Adventure. Are we really not getting a season of Fire Force? I am upset. So yeah, I'm still looking for Fire Force season 3, folks. So we're just gonna move on, and I'm gonna be bitter because I don't see it in here. Next up,
Shin Ultraman has been delayed indefinitely. Originally scheduled to premiere this summer, Hideaki Anno and Shinji Higuchi's take on the tokusatsu hero will be delayed due to the coronavirus pandemic impacting its production schedule. A new release date for the film will be announced at a later time, according to the official Shin Ultraman website. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, how long until we get the Godzilla and Ultraman crossover film that we know is probably could possibly be coming and tied into that whole monster universe?
If they get the license,
If they
because
get,
apparently the deal that Legendary had with Toho has been fulfilled.
Oh, with Godzilla Kong.
It's Kong, correct.
Huh. Interesting.
So we'll see how that develops going forward. This is news that dropped in conjunction with the release of the movie. So once once that hit, it leaves up in the air how this is going to move forward.
Gotcha. Did you watch Shin Godzilla?
I did. I watched it in the theaters, believe it or not.
How was
Came
it?
out at the same time as New York Comic Con, so
Right.
I went with some friends to it. It was good.
Okay. I might. I don't know if it's on HBO Max. Okay, I didn't think so.
It's very different though. Be prepared for a very different take on Godzilla.
That's what I heard, but I'm very curious to see it if I can find it out there someplace. So
I was about to say, since we just wrapped some of the Japan-centered news, I'll add in something here.
okay.
For fans of Attack on Titan. The news dropped just before the what ended up being the mid-season finale last Sunday, which everyone presumed was the season finale, but because it doesn't match up with what has been put out in the manga, it turns out there is a second half of season 4 of Attack on Titan that's going to come out later this year, 2021, or possibly early 2022.
Right. Which I don't know if that last article might have mentioned that, but yeah, that is a thing.
Oh, the Crunchyroll ones?
Yeah, it might. I don't know if it did or not. I can't remember, but and I didn't look back. I didn't look that hard at it because there was no Fire Force on it. Dang doggone it! Fire Force season 3. Hashtag Fire Force season 3. Next up.
I was about to say, for fans of the show who know, I am not that big on anime, but I am trying to increase my knowledge.
He's got his book.
Leaps and bounds. So I am up to date on Attack on Titan.
Yes, he's up to date on that, and I am staying away from it. And I am into anime, so that tells you something.
Is it because of the Titans having scary looking faces that might induce nightmares?
I mean, I've watched. We talked about this before the show, or before a show, or after a show. I think we talked about this after the treasure edition. But no, I watched it up until a certain point.
Now I remember Roddykat specifically.
Yeah,
you should just keep going after that. That's all.
Yeah. I got to basically for the folks out there, I got to a certain point, and I was like, I'm out. And I think that part is kind of early on, and most of you fans of Titan know that part, where I possibly might have stopped, where something happens to the main character.
Right.
But I don't know. I could revisit it at some point because there's some other stuff I'd rather have gotten to before I even tackled that again.
No pun intended.
Exactly. And I'm looking forward to watching Agent 70's progress, because I know there's some stuff that I've given him and other people have given him that he's possibly going to start and get into, that I'm looking forward to seeing his reactions to. All right, but the CW's Powerpuff Girls cast Scrubs star as Professor Newtonium and gets a new title, so it's basically just Powerpuff now. And the new Professor Newtonium is none other than Scrubs' Donald Faison, also of Clueless fame.
Why don't they say Clueless as Donald Faison?
Yeah, well, because people would know Scrubs more than Clueless at this point.
That's so bad.
So, but according to Variety, Faison's take on. So here's my thing about this. I know Donald Faison's. Hey, shout out to Natari Soul 2 also, that is in the chat saying that's so cool, and also hi. So how y'all doing? How you doing? And hey, Kamiyo Risu. But yeah, I know Faison is probably like around our age, if I'm not mistaken.
Probably.
And he's playing y'all know what Powerpuff Girls is about. He's basically playing the professor on the show, who's the dad of these now grown adult, who's being played by Chloe Bennett, Dove Cameron, and I forgot who's the other girl's name. So the grown up version of the girls. No one needed this. No one really needed this. Am I gonna watch it? Probably, but no one needed this. And it's totally gonna get CW with it, and I'm scared about that. Like, they've well enough known. Anyway, next up though, and this is the last bit
Late
of
actor Naya Rivera is among the voice stars of the film Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1, which also features work from Jensen Ackles and Josh Duhamel.
Duhamel, I believe it is.
Mel?
Yeah.
Duhamel. Who the hell says it's Duhamel? There's 2 syllables there, people.
I know. I feel like I've heard of it being said as Duhamel, so I don't know.
I think so too. And once you said it, I was like, oh yeah, I think I've heard it that way.
Yeah. So yes, Natari, it is that powerful. If that's what you're talking about, the Powerpuff Girls show is definitely live action. No one needs this. So, and yes, the show is also live. So yeah.
So getting back to the Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1, it's a time-honored Batman tale coming to the screen with the animated Batman: The Long Halloween Part 1. As I said, Supernatural's Jensen Ackles leads the cast as Batman Bruce Wayne after previously voicing Jason Todd, Red Hood in 2010's Batman Under the Red Hood.
Which I know some people like his version of Batman. I'm like, sure, it's all right, it works. I don't know why they're doing a part. I know they've done this on a couple of these animated ones, and I don't know why they're doing a part 1 or part 2 of part 1 and part 2 of this outside of just for giggles. Like, was Long Halloween
room to breathe?
I guess. Like, was Long Halloween that significant? Because I know people, low key like it.
I like it. I have the trade.
Yeah. But I don't know if are you going to put it up there with some of the other stuff? Is what I'm asking. Like,
I mean, I'm not a Batman fan though, so it's not like I have that much to really start. Everyone knows Dark Knight Returns,
right?
So.
Hush and Killing Joke and all the rest of them.
Those Hush is later.
I know, but they've already done Hush, so.
Right, but in terms of if you're going to go top Batman stories, you have to go back to Dark Knight Returns and Killing Joke, and then some amalgamation of some of the classic comic book stories.
Yeah, true, but either way, it is what it is. And I think I also have the trade of Long Halloween now that I think about it, and digitally, so it is what it is. Now we're going to transition over to the comic book news. You know what? Sure. that was probably the most perfect transition you could have done on that one. Yeah, And by the way, folks, Batman animated series, if you haven't checked it out, please do. HBO Max. It's one of the best one of the better, I would say one of the top 10 animated shows of the decade, if not.
That's probably one of the quintessential takes on Batman ever.
Oh, absolutely.
Or something to refer people to that's not so grim, dark.
Right. I would put it as GOAT status, honestly. It's one of the greatest of all times. I would almost put it there.
Batman you want to give to people is Batman animated series.
Yeah.
Shout out to Conroy.
And Mark Hamill.
Absolutely.
And Arlene Sorkin, got to get your Harley in there because that's where she came from, and all the other stuff. Anywho's, Gargoyles, Nika has 5 more premium figures of Gargoyles figures in the works. So I didn't know they had any Gargoyles figures. And yes, folks, if you are a fan of Disney's Gargoyles, then I guess you'll be excited about this. I've never really watched the show, so go figure.
It's awesome. I think it goes down the tubes. I think in one of the last seasons. Mm-hmm. I think the first 2 seasons are the best.
Also a Greg Weisman joint, now that I think about it. One of his earlier shows. So Gargoyles was good. Yeah, and I know people younger than I am love. Yeah, no, apparently Natari agrees with you on the except the end part. it's on Disney Plus right now, so I can definitely watch it, and I plan to very soon. And I know about the cast, and I know that I know it gets dark, and it is a darker Disney show that I have yet to actually really watch any of. So I look forward to doing that whenever I get to it. But here we have 5 more figures, and they're going to be, let's see, one of them's $32.99, which is the Ultimate Goliath, and there's other figures in this set that's coming down the line. And this first one is going to ship in early July, or in July rather, and is ready for pre-order now, which is the Ultimate Goliath figure, which I think that's the figure that's being shown in the picture if you're watching the video version of the show. And thank you for doing that. Next.
You should take this one.
Age of 70, not a fan of Doctor Who. Christopher Eccleston, aka Destro, is back as the Doctor in trailer for the 9th Doctor Avengers Ravagers. So this is an audiobook and nothing live action. So yeah, Christopher Eccleston is one of this article's writer's favorite versions of the Doctor Who. It's a shame that he only got one season. First of all, he left on his own accord after the first season. So whoever this article writer is, little rose-colored glasses on this. Matter of fact, he famously left because he didn't really care for sticking around that long. But according to this article, he is going to voice the Doctor, which is being done by Big Finish Productions, who does the audio stuff of a lot of audio projects, not just Doctor Who, but Doctor Who is one of their ones they do a lot of on. The podcast project was announced last year, and now the first trailer for it has been released along with some additional tales, and it actually sounds like a great Doctor Who podcast series. The series will consist of 12 full cast adventures, and they will be released across 4 box sets, starting with Volume 1, which is set to be released in May 2021. Eccleston said in a statement, "After 15 years, it will be exciting to revisit the 9th Doctor's world, bringing back to life a character I love playing." He's lying. Let me phrase that. So I know he ended up appreciating it a little bit later, but when he first left, there were stories of him not really liking it too much or doing it, which is why he initially left and thought he was going to be a big movie star or something like that also. But we see him as Destro. See, I've never watched Doctor Who either. Doctor Who, if you're a sci-fi fan, I would encourage you to at least check out some Doctor Who. Maybe New Who might be up to most people's speed. I grew up on the classic stuff, so and I like some of the New Who stuff also. But yeah, and also that stuff is on HBO Max if I'm not mistaken, so you can definitely check it out. Which starts off with Eccleston's 9th Doctor. It's a little weird, but it's and made for a kind of sort of made for kids, but not the new stuff. Is a little whatever, but yeah, I personally like it. I heard that. Anyway, next up,
the son of Green Arrow battles the son of Batman on the official cover for Robin #3, which is slated to arrive this June from DC Comics. On the version of Gleb Melnikov's Robin #3 cover previously shared by DC, Damian Wayne Robin is seen battling a mystery opponent. Series writer Joshua Williamson has now shared the issue's true cover, which reveals that Damian is fighting Connor Hawke, the son of Oliver Queen, aka Green Arrow, and Sandra Hawke. Okay.
Squaw. Sure. Next up, Constantine just defeated his most dangerous enemy and created another one. So this is spoilers for Truth and Justice #9, which is, I think, probably been out a week or two. I don't know. Long story short, he was fighting Papa Midnight, and he used this little kid who apparently had magical powers and took him away, and may have possibly created another villain from taking away this kid's power. Next up,
a collection of DC stories by the late great writer editor Dwayne McDuffie will be collected in a new hardcover coming this year from DC. Going on sale December 14th, DC Universe by Dwayne McDuffie will collect 12 issues from his work for the publisher. So these include Timeless Tales starring Superman, the Demon, Impulse, Batman, Firestorm, and other amazing DC characters, which celebrate the amazing stories that acclaimed writer Dwayne McDuffie contributed to the DC Universe. Reads DC's synopsis of the collection. He's best known for creating Icon and Hardware of the Milestone universe, but these sensational stories should not be missed, and you should also not miss some of the work he did for the DC animated.
Agreed. So Justice League Unlimited, and pretty much everything around that time and before and after, and also Static Shock and other animated works that Mr. McDuffie has had a hand in. Rest in peace still, because he's been dead for a while now. But yeah, he's influenced a lot of stuff. And had a hand in a lot of stuff. Crime noir comic The Good Asian explores the identity, struggle, and history of Asian Americans. The mythic Chinatown of crime noir is getting a dose of real life thanks to a new comic book series called The Good Asian. Writer Pornsak Pinchetshot.
Yeah, this guy has a Thai name. So it's one of those really long Thai, from Thailand names.
Gotcha.
I think it's Pornsak Pichet Pickett-Shote.
Pickett-Shote.
I don't think it's Pichet. I think it's Pickett-Shote.
Pickett-Shote. Okay. Well, my apologies if I butcher your name. We don't try to
listen,
do that.
I might have done it too, so
Yeah.
I apologize as well.
Yeah. So and artist Alexandra Tefinsky. We'll go with that. On a 9-issue series that explores. We have a lot of names on this show that we end up going up against. It's kind of funny, folks. Sometimes there will not be a thing with all of that, because no one needs to revisit all of that, and I'm not trying to do the work either. But anyway, so there's going to be a 9-issue series that explores the history and struggle of Asian Americans in the first half of the 20th century through the lens of crime noir. The Good Asian centers on Edison Hark, an Asian detective raised by a white family, witnessing firsthand how the first generation of Chinese Americans are being affected by the Chinese Exclusion Act, a real act that banned Chinese immigration. The landscape is besieged by rampant murder, abusive police, and a world that seemingly never changes. Let's see, and the rest of the article is an interview with the creative team, and it looks like the book is going to hit the stands on May 5th. So if you're interested in that, check that out.
Yeah, it's unfortunately very timely.
Yes, definitely. And this is, if I didn't say it before, it's an image book, so you'll be able to readily find that out there. Next up,
comic book creator Matt Kindt is delivering another installment of Mind MGMT to readers as a one-of-a-kind NFT non-fungible token. Mind MGMT, the artifact, was an NFT comic that was available via an auction taking place until March 31st at 7:06 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Or Eastern Time, that is.
Oh, before we go any further, while I'm still thinking about this, we talked about Invincible earlier. If you are interested in reading the comic books, I believe you can read them for free if you have Comixology Unlimited. So that's like $7 a month, but there's a lot of books in there. If you're looking for a smattering of comics, and this is not a plug for them because they don't sponsor us, but I'm just saying, if you're interested in that show or Falcon and Winter Soldier or anything else, you can definitely do that. Next up, though,
I was about to say, same as us not really plugging Marvel Unlimited, even though we kind of live and die by it.
Exactly, that is another one. Yeah, if you're definitely a Marvel fan and you want to, check out a bunch of archive books, even though you may or may not have them, like we might, and you want to go back and if you either need to do research or you just want to plunge into a whole bunch of books, Marvel Unlimited is there for you.
Without having to dive into your back issues.
Exactly. Again, not sponsors, not a commercial. We're just saying we definitely use these. If they want to sponsor us, though, hey, get at us. Yeah, exactly. Peach Momoko draws Tarna after the first 3 issues sell out. So let's see. Heavy Metal's trademark heroine Tarna returned to comics back in December, and I think you can say it was a hit according to this article. Newsarama has confirmed that the first 3 issues of Tarna: The Last Tarakian have all sold out on a distributor level, leaving those interested to scour their local comic shops or buy it digitally. With that, the publisher is going back for a second printing of Tarna the Last Tarakian, excuse me, #1, and they're making it special, and which is where Peach Momoko comes in to draw it in her signature style. So that's cool. And I don't know when that's gonna come, but that's whenever the second printing comes out, and that'll be one of the variant comes out, I would assume. Next up.
Alrighty, new graphic novel from Eisner Award nominee Magdalene Visaggio and Andrea Mutti. It's Halloween meets Jacob's Ladder in Cold Bodies. Okay. From those two creators comes Cold Bodies, a 1980s meta horror homage graphic novel focusing on how trauma affects victims of slashers and never leaves decades later. Okay.
Cold Bodies. Oh.
Yeah, it focuses upon a sole survivor of a brutal Winterman massacre in which several young adults were slaughtered. Okay.
Yeah. So if that's your thing, that's the beautiful thing about comics. There's something for everybody. San Diego Comic-Con announces dates for November 2021 convention. Nah, boss. So yeah, San Diego apparently is still hard, which we knew we knew they were rescheduling things, so we kind of knew something was in the works, and I think they're still doing that mini convention thing soon. But it's San Diego Comic-Con is still happening this year in a way, shape, or form. Let's see, Friday, November 26th to Sunday, November 28th is going to be the 3-day affair. Let's see. The company is calling this year's convention Comic-Con Special Edition, and badge cost, attendance capacity, and related information has yet to be decided by organizers and convention center officials. Quick quote: while we have been able to pivot from in-person gatherings to limited online events, the loss of revenue has had an acute impact on the organization, as has with many small businesses, necessitating reduced work schedules and reduction in pay for employees, among other issues. So that's basically them boohooing like we need money, and I shouldn't say boohooing like that. That's real hard-hearted, because it's a tough time for everybody out there. Although, even though bigger businesses seem to be, Anyway, that's the thing, and basically rounds out the quote by saying, hopefully this event will show up our financial reserves and mark a slow return to a larger in-person gathering in 2022. So you pretty much get the gist of what they're going for here. Next up.
Yeah, I was going to say it's tough because it's hard to know exactly how much reserves they kept.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was such a regular yearly event. It's sometimes hard for some of these businesses to plan like that.
Right. If they kept much reserves, because there are a lot of businesses that don't really think about things like this happening. I mean, but the bigger ones do, obviously, but
Right.
But yeah, there, like you said, there is very much no telling. But next up.
All right. Diamond Comic Distributors Chairman, President, and CEO Steve Geppi has released a statement responding to the news that came out last week that Marvel Comics has entered a new exclusive agreement with Penguin Random House to be its distributor to the comic book direct market beginning October 1st, 2021. Quote from Steve Geppi, "We value our almost 40-year relationship with Marvel and are pleased that we will continue selling Marvel products to the direct market and other channels. The change Marvel announced today represents a behind-the-scenes shift in how Diamond interacts with Marvel for certain products, but does not impact our ability to supply our customers with Marvel comics, trades, and graphic novels. He does expect the discount terms under which their retail partners order Marvel products to change, and Diamond will communicate that information to their customers well in advance of any adjustments." So bottom line, that is essentially what comic book retailers have told me since this news has dropped. I've been to 2 different comic book stores since the news dropped, and that's essentially what they both told me, which is that that's what they're concerned about, whether or not the discount is going to be comparable for retailers from Penguin Random House as opposed to the one that they receive on product received through Diamond.
Right. Gotcha. And Penguin Random House.
I was about to say
Malice.
one of the selling points is that Random House claims that all of their shipping is going to be free, so
Mm,
that might offset some of the discount. But until further details come out, the retailers I talk to suspect that that's not going to be the case. That it's going to add up to be a smaller discount,
right.
and that means they won't be able to um, run discounts on some comics. For people who have pull lists, like I have a discount in my comic book store for my pull list.
Right.
They might have to reduce said discounts, and some books may have to wait a lot longer to hit the dollar bin.
Right. Which, yeah, like, yeah, we're in a whole new paradigm here, I guess. So
See how that plays out over the next several months.
exactly, because the agreement doesn't go into effect until October, but I'm sure there will be some shifting around going into that.
Absolutely.
Next up, oh hey, look, a free suit for Spider-Man Miles Morales. So I honestly, this is one of the ones that I, for some strange reason, wasn't sure whether it was true or not, but I have no reason to believe that it's not. So the advanced suit, the advanced tech suit, to be more specific, which is pretty much looks like a Miles Morales version of Peter's suit from the movie. It looks to be in the game now, and I know people with the game. I have the game, but I haven't played it yet. But I believe this is a PS5 exclusive feature, or at least, or what they're talking about here. It says here, let's see. As of now, you can grab the new update for Miles Morales, which includes the classic free costume add-on. In this case, is the advanced tech suit, and amid various fixes for the game itself, Insomniac also flaunts "quote unquote" realistic muscle deformation for select suits, which apparently this is one of them, which is also the PS5 exclusive feature that I mentioned. So there you go, folks. You got a new suit in Miles Morales Spider-Man. I'm looking forward to playing this game. Next up.
Next up, Marvel's Reign of X-Men line looks to be expanding again with a new upcoming story from writer Victor Laval. Speaking to AIPT, what does that stand for?
You would ask me that. I think I totally forgot. It is I don't know. But it's a site. Regardless, keep pushing. I'll look it up.
Oh, I guess it's just AIPT Comics.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know what it stands for though.
That's cool. I had to just Google it real quick. But in the meantime, I'm going to get to the story. Laval explained that he's joining the X-Men line as a writer, though he stopped short of saying what he's writing, declining to mention whether it will be an ongoing title, a limited series, one shot, or something else. Laval, best known for his novels The Ecstatic, Big Machine, The Devil in Silver, and The Changeling, as well as the Boom Studios comic book The Destroyer, will make his first foray into Marvel Comics with the unspecified story. Okay.
Yay. X-Men, we might have alluded to this earlier in the show, but X-Men number 20 delayed with 8-week break between issues. So after this week's X-Men number 19, and the next issue, X-Men 20, has been delayed until May 26th. So we are getting 2 months. 8 weeks. So break in between these issues. And it also says that Marvel also gave X-Men a break from the regular monthly schedule by soliciting no new issues for April, and today decided to push 20 from the May 12th to May 26th, as this article says. So yeah, it's gonna be a while till we get the next issue of 20, which I don't know if that's going to mess up anything with the gala or anything going on with that. I'm going to assume it's going to finish up the what we were talking about earlier.
Right. The what you call Children of the
Yeah. So it's probably not going to mess with anything, that being the case, or anything significant, but we'll see. Last but not least, do you want a job in? Oh wait, that's you. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no. I mean, at the end of the day, this is one of those stories that we can both talk about because it I don't want to say it's the dark side of collecting, but
Right.
part of what has evolved during the pandemic is that people are looking for places to put their money, something to invest in. One of the things that exploded was sports cards and collectibles. Some of those have gone, there was a time when those things were just like a nothing collectible, but
Mm-hmm.
with the advent of the pandemic, one, because people just had time on their hands, they were looking to put their money into things, and one of the things that they thought to put their money into in terms of collectibles was sports cards.
Mm-hmm.
Next in line were comic books, and it's expanded to things like Top Shot, like NFT type technologies. But getting back to the collectible side, the market for comics and collectible comics really did explode over the course of the pandemic and just before it really started to heat up. And as the comics have started to get more expensive and more people are looking to get their comics graded, those grading companies, namely CGC and CBCS, um, are running into backlogs, and they need to hire graders and people who work inside the infrastructure of their grading of those respective grading companies, so that they can get their reviews done quicker and their product sent out quicker, so that turnaround time can be shortened. So if you are interested in this, they are hiring. Um, I think CGC is located in Florida. I'm not sure where CBCS is, but listen, I'm not the best grader in the world. I'm probably um, far too conservative, but sometimes that's what they're looking for. So, if this was something that I could do on the weekends, but listen, they're so swamped right now,
Right.
that they need full-time people.
Right. Like, is some of this stuff can I do from home? Like, I would do it. There's also, it said, if you're watching the video, you can see the image of CGC's hiring poster, I guess, now offering a $1,000 sign-on bonus for new employees, and it's got several areas, including graders, but also marketing, human resources, IT, operations, et cetera, et
Mhm.
cetera, et cetera. So there you
Yeah,
go.
unfortunately, a lot of that stuff does have to be in person because you have to see the
Right.
product.
Especially like operations, which I and IT, which I know
Mm.
of. So, but hey, if you're close enough and you're looking for something like that to do, go for it. Grading, yeah, I probably wouldn't be all that great at grading either, but tis what it is. All right, folks, we have come to the end of the show. And actually, you know what? I'll do this right now before we do the ad read, as opposed to afterwards, because I have something for Toy Corner.
Yay!
So bear with me a second while I pull this out the box. Excuse me while I whip this out. Let me stop.
Oh
All
no!
right, let me see, folks. I'm gonna mute for one quick second. There we go. All right. So, oh wait, and actually, I'm going to close up on me, and I apologize if you hear my computer acting a freaking fool. But, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and on all non-binary folks, we have blah blah, and of course,
Oh man, we can't see a
the
bloody thing. You got to
weekends.
put it right in front of your face.
Oh crap. Um,
There it is.
there we go. So, as you can see here, you know what? Y'all are gonna see some real um hold on a second.
Roddykat needs to, like me, dedicate some time to organizing some shelves behind him.
Oh man, it is the worst. It is the worst. So let me do this. Let's see if
The
that's better.
blur.
That's not probably not much better.
Well, it's a help because right. Once you hold it in focus, we can actually see it.
Okay. There you
Yeah,
go,
that's
folks. It is the Blackbird. But also as a transformer, folks. Let's see. You can see the back of it. Actually, that shows a little bit better. So yeah.
yes.
Um, this is the latest in um, crossover Transformers figures. I still don't have my Ecto one yet, but I'm pretty sure that's coming. But yeah, here's the X-Men Blackbird, which is blue as a Transformer, and it comes with, as you can see here, two figures. A little Wolverine, and for some strange reason, Sabretooth.
You got to have somebody for Wolverine to fight.
I guess. But why not Cyclops? And as you can see here on the side, the figure looks like kind of looks like a Cyclops, or kind of looks like Cyclops, I should say. So why didn't they do Cyclops as opposed to as opposed to those two characters? I don't know. But regardless, I have it now, and it is in my hot little hands. And at some point, I will probably take it out of the box and
oh no,
and prop it up somewhere. Fast fingers in my old age. So yes, folks, and you have gotten a glimpse into my junky office. So I apologize for that, but you know, it was in service. So yeah, that was it for Toy Corner for me, and we can now wrap this whole thing up with an ad read.
Our last ad read of the night is to help keep our podcast free by shopping at Amazon. Visit espn.us, then click the Keep Our Podcast Free link at the top of the page. From there, scroll down and click on the Amazon link to shop. Purchase items from Amazon as you normally would, whether it's books, music, electronics, jewelry, apparel, or Marvel Legends. For every purchase made on Amazon through our link, Amazon sends the CSPN a payment that helps us keep the Comic Book Chronicles podcast free for our listeners at no extra cost to you. Amazon.com through CSPN.us. Do it today.
As we come to the end of no, Camry, don't be taking notes. Don't take notes. That's the last thing you need to take notes of. Unless it's for Amazon, then by all means. But we have come to the end of another exciting episode of this here podcast. Thank you each and every one for coming out, whether you're listening to us in audio or watching us in video after the point, or you're here live watching us record. We appreciate you. I have been Roddykat. You can find me at Roddykat on Twitter. You can find me at News Nerds Need on Twitter. You can find me at CBCaps on Instagram. Agent_70 on Twitter and Instagram. I pointed the wrong way, so I'm getting my thing straight here one way or the other. Our absent host, PC_Dirt on Twitter, Pop Culture Net on Twitter, PopCultureNetwork.com, and all the umbrella sites they're in. Quite maybe possibly bite under Comic Reviews No Vowels. I don't know. Tim TOGG98 on Twitter, the Osiris that is ish. You can also find him at CB Cron on Twitter, which is the Comic Book Chronicles Twitter account. You can also find him at the Click Nation on Twitter, which is his thing. That's DKLIQ NATION, all one word. You can also find him at theclicknation.com. You can also find him at Comic Book Resources, where he's over there writing his face off. So yeah, go check out my man's works, our man's works. We're proud of him. He's busting it up over there. You can find this here podcast on Coastal the Podcast Network. That's CSPN.us.
Do it today.
You can also find us on your podcast personal place of choice, whether it be Google Play, Apple iTunes, aka Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or the Coastal the Podcast Network SoundCloud page.
Make sure to hit like and subscribe and leave us 5-star reviews.
And on that though, you can hit subscribe on one of the two places I'm about to mention, because we go live every Thursday night at 9:30-ish p.m. Every Thursday on the YouTube channel of the Click Nation. That's youtube.com/theclicknation. Or you can check us out on twitch.tv/Comic Book Chronicles, which some of you have done tonight. Thank you very much. And we will be back next week, most likely talking about the next episode of Falcon and Winter Soldier, and probably Invincible, I would imagine. Might talk about that a little bit.
And maybe Godzilla versus Kong when
And-
Roddykat gets around to watching it.
And I will have watched Godzilla versus Kong by then. So yeah, we can definitely talk about that also. So with that, folks, this has been the Comic Book Chronicles. Peace.
Peace. One.
My time is up. Peace out to Brooklyn.